Chapter 501. Divine Skill. Furthermore, it was a level 6 divine skill. As Tsing Hui used the divine skill, Tsing Hui seemed to feel a kind of blessing from the heavens. The mysterious tracks between heaven and earth became less mysterious in front of his eyes. It seemed that as long as he could immerse himself in it, he could completely integrate into those mysterious tracks and rules, and receive the blessing of the supreme power between heaven and earth. Celestial Body. This was the realm of celestial body. Savage Sword, who was gradually gaining the upper hand in changing his tactics, immediately sensed the change in Tsing Hui's aura, especially the mysterious aura on him. He was definitely not wrong. The peak of the Sage Realm, the realm of celestial body. However, facing Tsing Hui who used the divine skill, Savage Sword's face did not show any fear. Instead, he showed a trace of coldness. Divine skill? And it looks like your divine skill is above level 6. However, you have to know that you're not the only one in this world who has the divine skill. Why do you think I, Savage Sword, can kill powerful figures time and time again, and those so-called powerful figures do not even have the chance to escape in front of me? I rely on the power of the divine skill. I don't know what level your divine skill is at, but it's definitely not higher than mine. Because... Boom! In the next moment, an even more terrifying aura burst out from Savage Sword. As this aura burst out, the power of his entire body seemed to intertwine into a network in the void. This network itself did not have the ability to manifest into the real world, but with the power of the Lihan Heaven Realm, some kind of special qualitative change happened faintly, causing the entire Lihan Heaven Realm to change into another form, a form of a realm. My divine skill, level 10. After using the divine skill, Savage Sword's entire body's power intertwined with the Lihan Heaven Realm, and his aura soared countless times. He was like a powerful figure with a realm, suppressing all directions. Level 10. Tsing Hui's pupils suddenly shrank. Savage Sword had actually raised his divine skill to level 10. It was the same level as esteemed Zhu Zhao. Obviously, he planned to walk the same path as esteemed Zhu Zhao, and raise his recovery and divine skill to level 10. Although he did not know what level Savage Sword's recovery ability was, a level 10 divine skill was enough to instantly reverse the situation between him and Tsing Hui. Be it the cooldown or duration of a 10th grade divine art, it's far beyond what I can compare to. Broken Sword's strength is also above mine. He even saw through the mystery of my backtrack art and purposely borrowed a domain-type treasure like the Morning Heaven Realm that can seal off space. Desperate. Savage Sword's various arrangements and his own terrifying power directly forced Tsing Hui into a desperate situation. I have already arrived outside the Hidden Sword sect a few months ago, and have been waiting for you to be alone. Today, Hidden Sword Venerable has left for some reason, and you have finally fallen into my hands. I have perfectly calculated all your moves, and no one can save you. Even if you want to tell Zhu Zhao, and let him send his incarnation down to die with me, it will be useless. This place is affected by the power of the Lihan Heaven Realm, and no one can send their incarnation down. Today, you will not be able to escape. Savage Sword laughed wildly. After waiting bitterly for 2 years, it was finally time for the final harvest. This kind of satisfaction naturally made him happy. Tsing Hui, hand over your chaos incantation and the supreme treasure that can raise your chaos level to such a high level, and then sign this chaos agreement, and become my subordinate, and I can give you a way out. Otherwise, death will be your only end. Not necessarily. Tsing Hui looked at Savage Sword in front of him. He knew that he had no chance of winning in a head-on battle against the broken sword that possessed a level 10 divine technique. Not a single one of the many characteristics that the Son of Chaos possessed could save him. Even his teleportation technique could be affected by the Morning Celestial Realm, causing him to be teleported into a spatial mezzanine before being torn to shreds by the spatial storms. Conventional methods had lost their meaning. If he wanted to turn the situation around, or even defeat Savage Sword, or even kill him, there was only one way: accept my challenge. A token suddenly appeared in Tsing Hui's hand. A token that contained a mysterious chaos aura. Seeing this token, Savage Sword seemed to suddenly think of something, and his victorious face suddenly showed a trace of fear. No. Then the shadow of the heavenly rock appeared behind him, and at full speed, tried to stop Tsing Hui's next move. Unfortunately, it was too late. War of Chaos. Rumble. Chaos Temple. A violent roar came from Tsing Hui and Savage Sword's personal space at the same time. In the chaos space outside the personal space, they seemed to see a new space rapidly descending. Chaos Battlefield. That was the chaos battlefield formed after the token of the world of battle was used. The moment the chaos battlefield was formed, Tsing Hui directly separated a part of his consciousness and projected it into the chaos battlefield. I'll kill you. Savage Sword roared, and a terrifying divine sense that was several times more powerful than before suddenly came crashing down. It's useless. My consciousness has already entered the battlefield of chaos. Even if you kill me, my consciousness can still continue the battle of chaos, and my body will be resurrected a day later. Therefore, unless you can last a day in the battle of chaos, you will be defeated and stripped of your chaos rank. Of course, you can also choose to drag the battle of chaos between individuals into a battle of chaos between groups. However, both of us are part of the Celestial Vault, so if you choose to fight as a group, I will be more than happy. If we fight as a group, the Celestial Vault and the others will definitely be alarmed. When that happens, they will definitely ask the sword wielder to sense our location. Even if they can't directly descend to this area, they can still descend nearby using the coordinates of the other Sons of Chaos on the Hidden Sword continent. I have already used the backtracking technique, which means that I can last for a day. One day is enough for them to rush over to protect me and expose your true identity. Damn it. Savage Sword had made a lot of calculations, but he had miscalculated the special existence of the token of the world of battle. The token of the world of battle, coupled with the almost unsolvable backtracking spell, allowed Tsing Hui to buy himself one day. Unless he could survive the cooldown of Tsing Hui's backtracking spell, otherwise, you have never experienced the chaos battle. Even if your chaos level is extremely high, so what? I'd like to see how you can defeat me in one day on the battlefield of the chaos battle. Savage Sword immediately projected his consciousness into the chaos battlefield. At the same time, he waved his hand and directly released an alchemy puppet at the level of the gold elixir realm. After the alchemy puppet was activated, it directly rushed toward Tsing Hui. The purpose of this alchemy puppet was not to kill Tsing Hui, but to harass and torture him. There was no point in killing Qing Su, who had the ability to backtrack. Instead, it was better to keep his body alive so that the alchemy puppets could harass and torture him, so that he would be affected by his main body during the battle against the chaos, and thus be unable to perform properly. The chaos battlefield. Tsing Hui projected his consciousness and immediately felt that his strength had plummeted. In addition to his powerful divine soul, this body that was identical to the Chaos Temple was so weak that it was only at the awakening realm. It has flesh and blood, and it looks exactly like the Chaos Temple. This power is really amazing. Tsing Hui sensed his own state and looked around. He was now in a tavern at the entrance of the forest. The path outside the tavern led straight to a huge forest. Tsing Hui could sense that the battlefield of the Chaos battle was in the forest. If anyone was more than 10 kilometers away from the forest, the chaos battle would be declared a failure. Withdrawing his gaze, Tsing Hui looked at the people in the tavern. In addition to the waiter, the shopkeeper, and others, there were 6 tables of guests in the tavern. There were men and women, and their common characteristic was that their aura was amazing. Although the people at the 6 tables had powerful auras, there were no signs of cultivation on their bodies. Instead, they possessed boundless power of qi and blood. They were like terrifying ferocious beasts. Just by standing there, they could form a great pressure. What a powerful power of blood and qi! Qi and qi have the characteristic of interfering with divine soul attacks. It is because of this that divine beasts and holy beasts, who have weak divine souls, can avoid being directly killed by cultivators using secret mind techniques. The 22 people at the 6 tables have powerful chi, and their strength is no less than that of level 4 or 5 fierce beasts. Some of them are even comparable to level 6 fierce beasts. Even if I wanted to kill them with sword intent, I would have to do it one by one. When I killed them with sword intent, they had already pounced on me and destroyed my fragile body, causing my chaos battle to fail. Qing Su glanced at these people and quickly thought back to them. When he first learned that Tianqiong was facing the threat of the chaos battle, he deliberately flipped through many scrolls on the chaos battle. He guessed what was happening in front of him and could not help but look at these people. Soon, Xing Hui's gaze fell on a table of 4 people. The cultivation of this table of people was not high. 2 were level 4 and 2 were level 5. However, the grades of their weapons were relatively low. Some of their weapons were even of an unrated standard. This discovery made his heart skip a beat. There is one thing that I hope the 4 of you can help me with. Xing Hui went directly to the table of people. Oh. What is it? Tell me. The leader of the 4 people, a level 5 man, looked at Xing Hui and said in a deep voice. I need you to find someone for me. As for the reward, Xing Hui's gaze fell on the saber of one of the level 4 men. With a wave of his hand, he directly threw an advancement technique. Immediately, the man felt his weapon flash and became sharper than before. This sudden change made the man surprised and bewildered. He looked at Xing Hui with eyes full of questions. The others also looked at Xing Hui. God's chosen one. However, the leader of the 4 people seemed to think of something. His expression changed slightly. At the same time, he stood up and bowed slightly to Xing Hui. Greetings, Your Excellency. Captain of the Red Tiger Squad, Huya. God's chosen one. A God's chosen one who has the means to surpass the rules. It is said that every God's chosen one has a God-given technique. The effects of those divine techniques are extremely wonderful and unbelievable. I didn't expect a God's chosen one to patronize this small tavern. As the man understood Xing Hui's origin, the eyes of the people at several tables in the tavern fell on Xing Hui at the same time. There was a lot of discussion. We are very satisfied with your reward. Do you have any orders? Huya looked at the strengthened saber in the man's hand with some envy. Then, he turned to Xing Hui and said respectfully. I need you to find someone for me. If you find him, I will reward you handsomely. If you can kill him, I will agree to any request within my power. Chapter 502. Any request that is within your power. A middle-aged man at the other table stood up. His majestic aura that was not inferior to a Class 6 direbeasts immediately suppressed everyone. I heard that the God's chosen one has a special ability that can resurrect the dead. If you can save my brother, I, Pang Long, will be at your disposal. The 5 men beside the middle-aged man, who were also Class 5 and Class 6, stood up as well. If you can save the captain, the rest of the Black Dragon squad will be at your disposal. Xing Hui's gaze swept across the 6 of them. 2 Class 6 powerhouses and 4 Class 5 powerhouses. Even he would not be able to deal with this lineup if they all came at him at the same time. In the chaos battlefield, Xing Hui and Savage Sword had suppressed their cultivation to the same level. As for their mental strength, he was confident that he was not inferior to Savage Sword. If he was not easy to deal with, Savage Sword would also have to spend a lot of effort to deal with them. Unfortunately, sorry, I don't know the resurrection technique. Aren't you God's chosen one bestowed with many divine arts? The resurrection technique is said to not be a top divine art for you God's chosen one. Why can't you do it? Do you think that we're not paying enough? If you're not satisfied, just tell us if you have any requests. A young-looking man among the 6 spoke emotionally. However, Xing Hui glanced at him and ignored him. This scene instantly angered the young man. He suddenly stepped forward and glared at Xing Hui as he yelled, I'm talking to you. Why aren't you answering me? Are you looking down on the Black Dragon squad, Xing Hui's expression turned fierce. His sword intent surged, and his eyes glowed. Even though the young man's blood essence had the characteristic of dispersing the divine soul, the difference in cultivation between the two was too great. Under Tsing Hui's sword intent, he still felt his mind tremble. He groaned and stared at Tsing Hui with blood flowing out of his eyes. His face was filled with pain. The remaining members of the Black Dragon team were shocked. Just as they were about to take action, the vice-captain of the Black Dragon team, Pang Long, shouted, "Sit down. Don't be rude to this god's chosen one." After he finished speaking, he hurriedly bowed to Tsing Hui. "Esteemed Sir God, Little Tong is my elder brother's adopted son. He acted rashly because of his emotions. I apologize on behalf of Little Tong. Please forgive him." Tsing Hui withdrew his gaze, no longer paying attention to Pang Long and the others. As his gaze swept across the people in the tavern again, the people in the tavern respected him because of his identity as a god's chosen one, and there was also a hint of reverence. The War of Chaos is different from what I imagined. Divine spells, backtracking, recovery, comprehension, and other abilities that benefit oneself are not of much use in the War of Chaos. On the contrary, abilities such as advancement, divine blessing, and appraisal are most effective in the War of Chaos, but, Tsing Hui glanced at his Son of Chaos template. The most useful ability in the War of Chaos is the deduction technique. The War of Chaos usually lasts only 3 days. In 3 days, it's not easy to find the other party in such a large place, let alone defeat and kill them. In such a situation, the most useful ability is the deduction technique. 3 days. Other Sons of Chaos could have 3 days, but he, only 1 day. Before the backtracking status of the backtracking technique was activated, he had to kill Broken Sword and secure the victory of this War of Chaos. If Broken Sword chose to hide during this period, it would be very difficult for him to find Broken Sword in 1 day. Therefore, the deduction technique is a must, Tsing Hui sighed. At this time, he could not help but be thankful that he had kept many deduction artifacts as backup. Otherwise, if he did not have enough deduction artifacts now, he would not be able to raise the chaos level even if he wanted to raise it by 1 level. After coming to a decision, Tsing Hui did not waste any time. His gaze focused on the chaos interface for a moment, and the 49th level of the chaos level shot up to the 50th level in one go. With the original deduction aura and the additional gains from the Divine Grace Chamber of Commerce, now, there are only 69 deduction aura left. However, in addition to these 69 deduction aura, there are still 88 deduction aura from the Iron Jade Peak Lord, Zhou Tsunyu. These items should have been handed over to the Hidden Sword Venerable, but the Venerable had still kept them with him in the name of safekeeping. If his life was really on the line, he would have no choice but to temporarily use up these deduction artifacts and find a way to replenish them when the time came. Now that the chaos level had reached the 50th level, Tsing Hui first glanced at the new trait derived from his character template. Transformation technique? Tsing Hui was slightly stunned. The new trait derived from the 50th level was the transformation technique. With a drop of the target's blood, the user could transform into the target's appearance and possess the target's remarkable abilities. The duration of the transformation was determined by the trait's level, attribute level, and life essence. Cooldown, 1 month. With the support of the special environment of the Chaos Battlefield, the cooldown time was only 2 hours. This trait, the effect was shocking. Possessing the target's remarkable abilities. Possessing both remarkable abilities. In other words, if his target was an almighty, wouldn't he be able to transform into an almighty and possess all the abilities of an almighty? This characteristic could come in handy in many situations, especially when it came to sneaking into certain forces to inquire about information, which was even more successful. However, Tsing Hui did not forget his original intention. In the end, he did not hesitate to add this new trait to the deduction technique. The deduction technique allowed one to know Tai Chi and Yin and Yang, understand the 4 symbols and 5 elements, identify all things in the universe, and solve karma and reincarnation. I'd like to see what's so special about the deduction technique. Tsing Hui thought to himself. Instantly, he activated the deduction technique to deduce the location of the remnant sword. The moment the deduction technique was activated, Xing Hui's mind became clear: the rules of the War of Chaos, the rules of the Chaos battlefield, the size of the forest, the monsoon climate, the distribution of the environment, and many other information flashed through his mind. Finally, he came to a conclusion. There should be a small town on the opposite side of the forest. The small town was similar to the small tavern he was in. In addition, they had only stepped into the Chaos battlefield for a short time. It was very likely that the remnant sword was still in the small town and had not left. After coming to this conclusion, Xing Hui immediately recovered from the mysterious state. After a while, he came to a realization. This is the deduction technique. Knowing the Tai Chi Yin and Yang, understanding the 4 symbols and 5 elements, distinguishing all things in the universe, solving karma and reincarnation. The art of deduction was to deduce the information that the user wanted to deduce from the details of the environment, material matters, and even the details of human relationships. Although the information obtained was somewhat vague and could not be considered accurate, but it could undoubtedly point him in the right direction. Amazing! Xing Hui was once again impressed by the many traits derived from the Chaos Temple. The cooldown time of the deduction technique was originally 1 month. Under the special environment of the Chaos battlefield, it has been shortened to 2 hours. In a while, I will deduce the origins of the several major changes in the War of Chaos. Xing Hui's somewhat confused situation suddenly became clear. Your Excellency, God's Chosen One, may I know the target you are looking for and what kind of opponent you need to deal with? At this time, a man in his 30s came forward from his table and asked in a deep voice. My target is a God's Chosen One like me. His strength is also on par with mine. His current location should be in a town on the opposite side of the forest. He should also be recruiting strong people. Fallen Maple Town. The man was slightly surprised. Fallen Maple Town is the only cargo town outside the Lost Forest. There are many experts and powerful teams coming and going in seclusion there. Oh. Can you tell me about the experts in Fallen Maple Town? And this Lost Forest, what powerful beasts and ferocious beasts are there? It would be our pleasure. The man said and immediately introduced the information of Fallen Maple Town and the Lost Forest truthfully. The Lost Forest was vast, spanning 5,000 to 6,000 kilometers. This distance was naturally nothing for Xing Hui, who had the 12th Order flying sword, Sky Splitter. He could cross it in less than 2 hours, but now, he did not even have true Qi in his body. It was not easy for him to travel through the Lost Forest on his flying sword. In addition, there were many powerful ferocious beasts in the Lost Forest, ranging from the 4th Order to the 10th Order. The species were mainly tigers and leopards. It was said that the strongest was a white tiger of the 10th Order. White tiger. I don't have the blood of the white tiger. It is just wishful thinking to use the power of the white tiger to win. Besides the white tiger, many beasts have the blood of the dragon, but it is still useless. I also don't have the blood of the azure dragon. Xing Hui carefully weighed this information. During the conversation, unknowingly, 2 hours had passed. Although a lot of time had been wasted, Xing Hui was not too anxious. Sharpening the axe would not delay the work of cutting firewood. The Battle of Chaos had always been about accumulating advantages, and then giving the target a fatal blow at the most critical moment to determine the victory. The deduction technique has cooled down. Then I will start to deduce where the few big variables are. Wait, before I deduce these variables, I might as well deduce how the chaos level of the broken sword can improve its own characteristics. Xing Hui's eyes flashed. The deduction technique was activated again. For a time, countless information flashed through his mind. Since the broken sword had chosen to follow the path of esteemed Zhu Zhao, in addition to the divine technique, its recovery characteristics must not be low. But from his journey from Heaven Wasteland to the Eastern Wilderness, his recovery level had not reached the 10th Order, but was around the 8th Order. In addition, although the broken sword had entered the first step of the Heavenly Vault, it seemed to be a little difficult. This might be related to the fact that its improved characteristics were not suitable for the Battle of Chaos, but it could also be inferred that its chaos level was at most 27 or 28, and at most 29, some rumors that he had occasionally heard flashed through his mind again. The broken sword had the incarnation technique, a personal space, and it could accommodate large flying weapons. It had also condensed a high-grade golden core with the help of the mutation of comprehension, and was talented in the sword way, etc. Finally, the detailed data jumped out in front of him. The broken sword's chaos level was at most 28. The divine technique was at the 10th order, the recovery characteristics were at the 8th order, the personal space was at the 2nd order, the comprehension was at the 5th order, the sword way talent was at the 2nd order, and the incarnation technique was at the 1st order. The result of this deduction was not far from the truth. Chapter 503. Among the many traits, only sword Dao talent, perception, and personal space can be of use. In a small town like this, personal space won't have much of an impact. Furthermore, this isn't a kingdom war, so personal space can't be used to transport resources through personal space. As for sword Dao talent, it might be of some use, but it's unlikely for a Tier 2 sword Dao talent to gain the recognition of a top-notch swordsman. Thinking of this, Tsing Hui's eyes flashed, and his gaze fell on the man again. Is there any big force in Maple Town recruiting disciples? This. Behind the fallen Maple Town stands the top sect, Maplewood Sect. There is an office of Maplewood Sect there. If there really is a cultivator with excellent talent, the deacon of Maplewood Sect's office will certainly accept him as a disciple. Then, he will wait for the opportunity to return to the sect once a month to recommend him back to the sect. The man pondered for a while. Maple Forest Sect. How strong is Maple Forest Sect? What's the cultivation of the deacon? The Maple Forest Sect is one of the 3 most powerful tycoons of the southern country. Those who can become deacons of the Maple Forest Sect generally have the cultivation of the 6th transformation or above. I don't know the specific cultivation of the deacon of the Maple Forest town, but I think it shouldn't be lower than the 6th transformation or higher. 6 transformations to 7 transformations, the cultivators in this world were divided into 9 realms, called the 9 transformations of dragon, which faintly corresponded to level 1 to level 9 of ferocious beasts. The breakthrough of each level was the transformation of the body and the sublimation of strength. The level 10 was called the True Dragon Realm. The True Dragon Realm, the equivalent of level 11, the Holy Dragon Realm, and the Divine Dragon Realm were the 3 strongest realms in this world. The gap between each realm was not as exaggerated as the Golden Elixir Realm and the Divine Realm, but it maintained a relatively stable increase. A level 6 transformations expert was nothing, but if it was a level 7 transformations expert, it would often take 10 level 6 transformations experts to take him down. Tsing Hui glanced at the man. The man was very proficient in this kind of information. If he could go to Maple Town, he would certainly be able to inquire about whether Savage Sword had joined Maple Forest Sect. Unfortunately, time waits for no one. He only had 1 day. To be exact, less than 20 hours. Even if this man had a cultivation of the 6th rank, he still had some tricks up his sleeves. It would take him 1 or 2 days to go back and forth through this 6,000-kilometer-wide forest. Your Excellency, if Your Excellency is worried that the deacon of the Maple Forest Sect will intervene in the battle between you two, you might as well ask young Master Shui Yun of the Maple Forest Sect to intervene. Young Master Shui Yun is the younger brother of young Master Yun Long, a core disciple of the Maple Forest Sect. Young Master Yun Long is a figure who has the qualifications to compete for the position of sect leader of the Maple Forest Sect. His cultivation has also stepped into the 8th transformation. Throughout the Maple Forest Sect, let alone the deacons, even the ordinary elders will give him face. With young Master Shui Yun's intervention and Your Excellency's special identity as a God's chosen, the deacon of the Maple Forest Sect will certainly make the correct choice. Young Master Shui Yun. What are the conditions to invite him? Young Master Shui Yun has a good sword. If you have a treasure sword as a gift, young Master Shui Yun will definitely be overjoyed. Treasure Sword. Xing Hui had already understood that the cultivators of this world, due to the cultivation of blood qi and brute force, did not place the divine weapons popular in the divine wilderness in their eyes. After all, the divine weapons popular in the divine wilderness were operated by true qi and true yuan. Moreover, they had to support the strength of the various battle constitutions. But the cultivators of this world only had one requirement for divine weapons: toughness, sharpness, and the ability to direct energy. This was the complete opposite of the characteristics of the divine weapons in the divine wilderness. Fortunately, although he did not have a top-notch divine weapon in this world, he could still forge one. The level of the advancement technique was too low, but the divine protection technique could come in handy at such a crucial moment. I understand. The only variable that Broken Sword had was the deacon of the Maplewood sect with the 6th transformation and possibly 7th transformation. The 7th transformation was roughly equivalent to a true Yuan boundary expert. Due to their powerful blood qi, they had a strong resistance to the power of the divine soul. Unless Xing Hui's mental strength broke through to the 120th level or above, it would be difficult to kill him in a short period of time. If he could not kill him in a short period of time, his weak body would be blown to smithereens. Therefore, this factor had to be eliminated. The key to eliminating this factor was young Master Shui Yun, and the other was the trump card to kill Broken Sword. At this moment, Xing Hui was not in a hurry. While waiting for the cooldown of the deduction technique, he said, "Your information is very useful to me. I can forge a divine weapon for you, but the prerequisite is that you have the refining method, the materials, and the refining furnace. I can give you 2 hours." Hearing this, the man was immediately overjoyed. "Thank you, sir." Saying so, he quickly turned to his other friends and used his fastest speed to either borrow or buy materials. The others looked at the man with eyes full of envy. The God's Chosen One often had incredible power. Similar to the ability to forge divine weapons for others, it was not unheard of. Unfortunately, the God's Chosen One was rare and could only be found by chance. Even if they had heard of the rumors of the God's Chosen One, they could not bring out anything or benefits that would satisfy the God's Chosen One. In less than an hour, the man had gathered all the materials one by one and started the refining furnace. When the furnace was opened, Xing Hui just threw a divine protection technique into it. Naturally, he did not need to worry about anything else. After settling the matter, the cooldown of the deduction technique was almost over. Xing Hui once again used the deduction technique to deduce the biggest variable on the chaos battlefield. Under the state of the deduction technique, the bits of information collected during this period of time all flashed through his mind like passing shadows. Finally, he locked onto a mysterious expert. It was a middle-aged man who had entered the forest yesterday and was suspected to be an expert in the 8th change. The 8th change should be the strongest existence in this scene. The peak existence in the Nanta Kingdom is the real Dragon Realm, which is equivalent to a level 10 expert. These people are all elusive. Of course, the mysterious level 10 White Tiger must be one of the big variables. Whoever can persuade it will probably win the game. Unfortunately, there are too few practitioners of the White Tiger bloodline above level 8. At least, I can't do anything about it. If I want to win in one day, I have to work on this expert in the 8th change. Xing Hui recalled the whereabouts of the expert in the 8th change that he had deduced. He immediately left the tavern and chased in the direction that the expert had left. Although he had a flying sword, the distance from here to Fallen Maple Town could not be considered close, so he had to set out in advance. Otherwise, even if he had grasped all the variables in his hands, it would still be difficult for him to escape the fate of defeat when one day was up. Flying on his sword, Xing Hui soon stepped into the lost forest. After estimating the speed of the mysterious expert in the 8th change, he moved forward at a moderate pace. Another 2 hours later, he once again used the deduction technique to enter that mysterious state. All kinds of information about the opponent flashed through his mind again. At the same time, some details came into his mind, such as the tragic death of a certain ferocious beast on the road, the destruction of some trees caused by the battle, and so on. After the deduction, Xing Hui slightly adjusted his direction and chased for another hour. Then, a fierce battle fluctuation appeared in front of him. Judging from the momentum, it should be, Xing Hui turned the tip of his sword and directly came to the direction of the battle fluctuation. He just happened to see an expert whose blood force had reached the 8th level. He was like an Archean ferocious beast, holding a huge sword that was as heavy as a mountain. With a swing of his sword, the power shattered the vacuum and killed a 6th-level ferocious beast in front of him. After killing that ferocious beast, the mysterious expert seemed to have sensed Xing Hui's spying. He immediately turned around, clenched his fist, and punched out. Suddenly, the air was compressed by his terrifying power and bombarded Xing Hui like an air cannon. If Xing Hui was not in the air and hundreds of meters away from him, the power of this blow would have been enough to smash him into pieces. "Sir, please stop. I mean no harm," Xing Hui shouted. His figure flashed, and he avoided the man's attack. He can actually walk in the air without relying on momentum. A true Dragon Realm expert. No. Even a true Dragon Realm expert can't hover in the air. Looking at Xing Hui, who was flying on his sword, the man's eyes were still full of vigilance. "You can call me a God's chosen one. I need your help with something, and in return, I can promise you a condition." "A God's chosen one?" The man's eyes suddenly lit up. "If you can help me collect more than 10 blood grass from the overlord of the Lost Forest, the 9-traced blood python, I can promise you anything as long as your request does not exceed the limit of my strength." 9-traced blood python. Is this your request? Yes. The man nodded solemnly. In the end, he introduced himself. "I'm Shin Chong. The people in the cultivation world have given me a nickname, Master Chong of the Void Sword. In terms of credibility, I'm quite famous. Sir, you can ask around. You should be able to find out what kind of person I am." Time was short, so Xing Hui had to choose to believe the man who called himself Shin Chong. Shin Chong did not look like a sinister or cunning person, so he nodded. "I'll go with you. If possible, I'll try my best to bring you the blood grass." "Thank you very much, sir." Shin Chong agreed happily. 9-traced blood python is a 9-change demonic beast, but the most troublesome thing is that this kind of demonic beast is an overlord. Not only does it possess great strength, but it can also control all the demonic beasts within hundreds of kilometers. Among these demonic beasts, there is no lack of 8-change demonic beasts. I can sneak into the blood-striped grass and bring it out, but the 9-traced blood python is extremely sensitive to the aura of the blood-striped grass. Once I am targeted by the 9-traced blood python, it will definitely chase after me endlessly. At that time, there will be countless 6-change, 7-change, or even 8-change demonic beasts surrounding me, and I will not be able to escape from its territory no matter what. However, you are different. You have the ability to fly, which is a shackle that cannot be broken by creatures below the real dragon realm. As long as you can bring the blood-striped grass and escape into the void, the 9-traced blood python will not be able to chase after you no matter how powerful it is. Xing Hui nodded. "I hope things will go well." Chapter 504. Xing Hui and Shin Chong approached the forest where the 9-traced blood python was. As the 9-traced blood python was in the same direction as the Lost Forest, Xing Hui did not need to worry about being delayed. The two of them continued forward and soon arrived at a large river with abundant water. They continued to walk along the river. As they walked along the river, Xing Hui paid attention to Shin Chong's cultivation method. Or rather, he was studying the cultivation system of this world. The cultivation system of this world was completely based on the refinement of one's own strength. It could be said that there was no genuine qi, no battle body, no magic treasure, and no other magic arts in their bodies. What they relied on was completely pure strength. Every cultivator looked like a living primordial fierce beast. Every word and action of theirs was filled with the beauty of exploding strength. However, it was they who interweaved this pure strength into a system that allowed them to perfectly explode this strength, forming a strength that was not inferior to that of a level 8, level 9, or even level 10 or level 11. It was even equivalent to the strength of a celestial phenomenon of Earth. Their pure strength has actually reached such a realm. A look of inquiry flashed in Xing Hui's eyes. The most important aspect of the extreme sword Dao was to condense one's essence, qi, and spirit into one's life divine sword. From there, one would be able to explode with a killing power that far exceeded those of the same level. The cultivation system of the divine wilderness was destined to allow cultivators to make good use of their true qi and spirit. For example, their battle physique and divine abilities were in fact transformations of their true qi and spirit. It was just imitating a top divine beast, allowing the battle physique to awaken the various divine abilities of divine beasts and sacred beasts, allowing one's battle strength to surpass ordinary cultivation systems. But for one's own essence qi, it could not be considered outstanding. At the very least, if Qing Su's true qi was sealed up and the souls of the Golden Crow and the Seraphic Dragon were destroyed, his cultivation that was equivalent to a Golden Core cultivator would definitely plummet. Even a prominent saint cultivator would not need to expend too much effort to kill him. His battle prowess would basically be halved. But for Shinchong in front of him, Your Excellency Shinchong, I want to exchange a cultivation method for you cultivators. What do I need to exchange? Cultivation method? Shinchong could not help but be taken aback by Xing Hui's words. After a moment of hesitation, he said, the cultivation method in my hand is a secret of our sect. I'm afraid I cannot give it to Sir. However, I obtained a secret method when I was adventuring outside. It can allow a cultivator to cultivate to the 9 transformations. If Sir needs it, I can give it to Sir after the matter is completed. Thank you very much. Xing Hui nodded. Yes, we'll reach the core area of the 9 Traces Blood Python after walking along this river for a period of time. If we encounter any 6 traces, 7 traces, or even 8 traces blood pythons along the way, it's best to avoid them as much as possible. Otherwise, we'll easily be surrounded by a huge number of demonic beasts once there's a battle. Xing Hui nodded. Since they were in the territory of the 9 traces blood python, they naturally had to be careful. The two of them continued forward. On the way, they did encounter many demonic beasts with tyrannical auras. Among them, there was an 8 traces blood python lying on the side of the river. It was like a small city wall. It was 3 meters thick and nearly 100 meters long. The scales on its body were overflowing with cold light. Xing Hui estimated that if he did not inject his qi into it, even a level 10 or level 11 divine weapon would not be able to pierce through the scales of this blood python. After all, the divine weapons in the cultivation system of the divine wilderness were mainly integrated into the battle body and qi. It was no wonder that the cultivators of this world only required sharpness and toughness for their weapons. It's just ahead. Xing Hui and Shinchong continued forward and finally appeared outside a rather muddy mud pit. Looking up, they could see a terrifying giant beast the size of a mountain lying on the ground, quietly sleeping. On the ground not far from it, there were 20 to 30 blood-red grasses dotted among the weeds. These blood-red grasses were the target of Xing Hui and Shinchong. Can you lure this demonic beast away? Xing Hui asked. Yes. But, a 9 changes demonic beast is powerful enough to destroy a city and a country. With my ability, dealing with it for a while is already the limit. If it wants to escape and chase after you, I can't stop it. At that time, all the danger will be transferred to you. It doesn't matter. Xing Hui's expression was calm. Those demonic beasts can't catch up with me. If we really get separated for some other reason, we'll meet up at the place where we met. Okay. Shinchong nodded with a serious expression. Then, he jumped and rushed in the direction of the blood grasses. However, when he was less than a kilometer away from the 9-traced blood python, the 9-traced blood python seemed to have sensed something. Its closed eyes suddenly opened, and a tyrannical and ferocious light burst out of them. Roar! It was obviously a snake, but the 9 Traces blood python let out a roar like that of a real dragon. Then, its huge body swept out with incredible agility, and in an instant, it rushed toward Shinchong. Shinchong, who was rushing toward the blood grasses, felt the monstrous ferocity of the 9 Traces blood python. He suddenly turned his body and exerted force on his feet. The ground under his feet shattered like a bomb, and countless dust splashed out. With the help of this counterforce, his whole body shot out like a cannonball. In an instant, he swept across thousands of meters in the void. The moment his body shot out, he broke the sound barrier and made a deafening roar. Xing Hui's pupils shrank. The strength of the body can be strengthened to such an extent? How on earth did the cultivators in this world do it? Rumble. The 9 Traces blood python seemed to regard the sound barrier as a provocation. The 9th rank demonic beast roared and swept out a roar. It crushed a huge ditch in the ground and chased after Shinchong. Its momentum could shake the earth and shake the mountains. It could easily turn the area within a few kilometers into ruins. This kind of pure violence was an eye-opener for Xing Hui. It's about time. Xing Hui estimated that the 9 Traces blood python was gradually getting farther away. He did not waste any more time and immediately rushed toward the 20 to 30 blood grasses. However, before he could reach the blood grasses, a huge head suddenly emerged from the quagmire in front of him. The 8 Traces blood python. A terrifying demonic beast at the 8 changes level. In addition to the 9 Traces blood python, there was a terrifying demonic beast at the 8 changes level guarding this place. Obviously, it was there to protect the blood grasses. Hiss. As soon as the 8 changes level blood python appeared, it let out an ear-piercing cry. Immediately, the 9 Traces blood python, which had been chasing after Shinchong for some distance, let out an angry roar and quickly turned back. The sound of its huge body crushing the ground was getting closer and closer. It was estimated that it would reach Xing Hui in a dozen breaths. 8 Traces blood python. Qing Su's eyes narrowed when he saw the blood python. In the next moment, he used a teleportation technique without any hesitation at all, directly crossing over to the side of the blood-patterned grass. He extended his hand on the ground and opened up his personal space. Under the furious roar of the 8-lined blood python, he directly sucked all the blood-patterned grass within a radius of 3,000 meters into his personal space. Even the soil was sucked into his personal space. Very good. Shinchong, this variable, has been controlled. With the help of an 8th rank expert, we can directly kill Broken Sword in the fallen Maple Town and end this war of chaos. Hiss. Seeing that the blood grasses had disappeared, the 8 Traces blood python let out an angry roar and directly rushed toward Xing Hui. Xing Hui, who had originally planned to escape by riding his sword, had an idea. He directly stretched out his hand toward the 8 Traces blood python and opened his personal space, forming a layer of space ripples visible to the naked eye. It seemed that the 8 Traces blood python was going to enter his personal space. The 8 Traces blood python instinctively felt the danger and was unwilling to enter Xing Hui's personal space. However, the personal space had an irresistible property to accommodate living things. If the 8 Traces blood python did not want to enter the personal space, it could completely ignore this layer of ripples and kill Xing Hui's body. However, at the critical moment, Xing Hui quickly piled up the blood grasses in his personal space at the entrance of the personal space. Seeing so many blood grasses in front of it, the 8 Traces blood python did not hesitate and directly rushed into the personal space, trying to take the blood grasses out. Unfortunately, how could the wisdom of demonic beasts be compared with that of human beings? As soon as the 8 Traces blood python entered his personal space, Xing Hui directly threw it into the deepest corner. After all, the personal space of the Qing ruins had already reached 1,000 kilometers in size. No matter how fast and ferocious the 8 Trace blood python was, how could it possibly cause any damage to the vast territory of over 1,000 kilometers? Xing Hui had marked out a territory of 1,000,000 kilometers and let the python do whatever it wanted. It could not cause any damage to Xing Hui's personal space. Phew! After taking the 8 traces blood python, Sing Hui's body flew up on his sword and directly broke through the sky to leave. The 9 traces blood python that was chasing after him roared again and again. However, it did not have the ability to fly and could only helplessly watch Sing Hui break through the sky and escape. Sing Hui, who had escaped into the void, did not dare to waste any time. In the Lost Forest, there were not only many demonic beasts on land but also a large number of birds. These demonic beasts were extremely unfriendly to humans. If he dared to recklessly fly in the void for a long time, it would be extremely dangerous once he was targeted by a powerful bird. After flying hundreds of kilometers away from the territory of the 9 traces blood python, Sing Hui quickly pressed down on the sword light and slightly chose a direction. He then flew towards the place where he first met Shinchong. After a short while, he arrived at his destination and waited quietly. He did not wait for too long before a roar came from afar. Then, he saw Shinchong, who had relied on pure strength to shoot himself like a cannonball, rapidly running towards him. Along the way, he encountered many trees. He either dodged them or used his valiant body and terrifying strength to smash them into smithereens. He was extremely barbaric and violent. Looking at him, Sing Hui really could not associate him with his nickname of the Void Rush Sword Sect. Mr. Seeing Sing Hui, Shin Chong's face immediately revealed a pleasantly surprised expression. We got it. However, we caused too much noise just now. That 9 traces blood python is extremely angry. It is very likely that it will set off a beast tide in this forest. Let's leave this place first. Yes, yes, yes. Let's leave this place quickly. Let's go to Maple Town. As Sing Hui spoke, he flew up on his sword. Although he did not dare to fly at a high altitude, flying at a low altitude was not a problem. Otherwise, with his body, which was only at the awakening realm, it would be impossible for him to catch up with Shinchong's speed. Chapter 505. Fallen Maple Town. It took Sing Hui 4 hours to travel several thousand kilometers. After careful calculation, more than half a day had passed. I just used a deduction technique to calculate that the broken sword should still be in Fallen Maple Town and is under the protection of the mysterious deacon of the Maplewood sect. But it doesn't matter. As long as I can persuade young Master Shui Yun to come forward, the deacon will naturally tell me the location of the broken sword. Sing Hui stepped into Fallen Maple Town and inquired a little before arriving at young Master Shui Yun's residence. Young Master Shui Yun could be called the only big shot in this town. Although his cultivation was not very high, he could sit back and relax with young Master Yunlong behind him. Sing Hui and Shinchong arrived at the town. After reporting Sing Hui's identity as a god's chosen, they were quickly invited into the courtyard by young Master Shui Yun. I didn't expect that my residents would be so lucky to have a god's chosen. Mister, please come in. At the entrance of the inner courtyard, young Master Shui Yun personally welcomed him and enthusiastically led him into the living room. Young Master Shui Yun. Sing Hui nodded slightly. Time was pressing, so he could not spend too much time on small talk. After a moment of courtesy, he went straight to the point. I heard that young Master Shui Yun is fond of swords. It just so happens that I have a sword refining technique. Young Master only needs the corresponding materials and sword recipe, and I can refine a satisfactory sword for young Master. After the matter is completed, I only need young Master to help me with a small matter. Oh. I have heard of the various miraculous abilities of gods chosen for a long time, but I didn't expect you to have such a wonderful technique. For a long time, I have been longing for the heavy light sword in the hands of Swordmaster Guzhong. Unfortunately, this is the famous sword of Swordmaster Guzhong. Swordmaster Guzhong will not part with it, so I can't ask for it. Since Mr. has such a wonderful technique, I wonder if you can forge this sword for me. If this sword is completed, I will do my best to help Mr.'s request. I have an opponent who should be under the protection of the deacon of the Maplewood sect's Fallen Maple Town branch. I am looking for young Master Shui Yun this time in the hope that young Master will step in and let him stand by and do nothing. This is a small matter. I am quite familiar with Maplewood sect's Deacon Tan Yu. If I just ask him to watch with folded arms, he will give me face. Alright, I'll have to trouble young Master Shui Yun to prepare the materials for the heavy light sword. That's great. I've long wanted to find a swordsmith to imitate the heavy light sword, but the standards of the swordsmiths I found were not satisfactory. They came at the right time. As young Master Shui Yun spoke, he impatiently stood up and gestured towards Tsing Hui. Immediately, the group of people turned around and headed toward the backyard. Young Master Shui Yun was backed by young Master Tsung Yun, a character who had a high chance of contending for the position of Maplewood sect's sect leader in the future. His business in Fallen Maple Town was naturally out of the ordinary. His courtyard had its own system, and he naturally had a blacksmith shop. Not only did he have a blacksmith shop, but because he revered famous swords and divine swords, the courtyard had several sword forgers enshrined all year round. The entire blacksmith shop appeared to be quite high-end. Even some of the shops in the bustling cities couldn't compare to his family's blacksmith shop. By the time Tsing Hui's group arrived at the blacksmith shop, someone who had already received the news had already prepared the materials for the heavy light sword. In addition, 2 master swordsmiths had already rushed over when they heard that Tsing Hui, the god's chosen one, was going to make a move. They surrounded the furnace and waited for Tsing Hui to show his skills. Sir, what do we need to do? As young Master Shui Yun spoke, he led the 2 master swordsmiths forward. Master Jin Shua and Master He Tong are 2 master swordsmiths who are enshrined in my residence. If there's anything you need, please don't hesitate to tell us. Although the 2 master swordsmiths had revered statuses, they didn't dare to be arrogant in front of Tsing Hui, the god's chosen one. They only said modestly, Sir, if there's anything we can help you with, please don't hesitate to ask. It's fine. In fact, when it comes to understanding the way of swordsmithing, I can't be compared to the 2 master swordsmiths. It's just that I have some special methods that allowed me to forge the heavy light sword. I'll have to trouble the 2 master swordsmiths to order someone to start the fire. The 2 master swordsmiths smiled when they heard Tsing Hui's pleasant words. Alright, I'll start the fire myself. The 2 master swordsmiths immediately ignited the fire. Tsing Hui didn't waste any time. He threw in all the materials for the heavy light sword and cast divine blessing on it. In the War of Chaos, many skills had extremely short cooldowns, including divine blessing. Seeing Tsing Hui's swordsmithing method without any rules, the 2 master swordsmiths were dumbfounded. Even young Master Shui Yun, who didn't know much about swordsmithing, was stunned. Sir, you're... Young Master Shui Yun, just wait. It won't be long before the heavy light sword is finished. I've never heard of such a swordsmithing method. Young Master Shui Yun sighed in doubt. However, he secretly shot a glance at the guard, and the guard immediately backed off. Before long, Qing Su sensed several dozen 5th transformation and even 6th transformation experts surround the smithy. They surrounded the area where the smithy was. Clearly, young Master Shui Yun was already suspicious of Tsing Hui's methods. He vaguely treated him as a fraud. The reason why he didn't show any reaction was because the god's chosen was just too mysterious. He couldn't offend him easily. If Tsing Hui couldn't give him a satisfactory answer after the swordsmithing was completed, the cultivators surrounding the smithy would definitely swarm over and capture him alive. Sir, Shen Chong naturally sensed these people surrounding him, so he immediately reminded him softly. It's fine. Tsing Hui stopped Shen Chong from saying anything else. He just waited quietly for the sword to be completed. This wait lasted for a whole 6 hours. Although it took a lot of patience, after 4 hours, the heavy light sword was unearthed. Even if the divine sword hadn't been further polished, young Master Shui Yun could already tell that even if this sword was inferior to the heavy light sword, it wouldn't be too far off. Immediately, young Master Shui Yun was overjoyed. Good, good, good. No wonder it's a god's chosen's divine technique. It really has incredible power. The two master swordsmiths were also greatly enlightened. This divine technique is simply unimaginable. There's no need to consider any technique at all. It's actually able to forge the heavy light sword that even ordinary master swordsmiths would find difficult to forge. This sword only needs to be polished properly. The final product definitely won't be inferior to the real heavy light sword. It's good that young Master Shui Yun is satisfied. Xing Hui said with a faint smile. Ha ha ha, it's really my fortune to be able to see a god's chosen's divine technique. Servants, prepare some wine for me. I must properly entertain sir. There's no need for such trouble. Time is pressing. I'll have to trouble Sir Shui Yun to clarify things with Deacon Tan Yu as soon as possible. Young Master Shui Yun glanced at the heavy light sword that only needed to be polished a little before it could display its sharpness. He nodded heavily. All right. Since Sir has spoken, I naturally can't waste Sir's time. I'll go with Sir to find Deacon Tan Yu. As he spoke, he had already gestured with his hand and led Xing Hui to a large courtyard not far from this courtyard. That was where the Maplewood sect's branch was located. It was less than 500 meters away from young Master Shui Yun's residence. The two were so close to each other, presumably for the sake of convenience. Under the guidance of young Master Shui Yun, the group arrived at the Maplewood sect's branch without any hindrance. Before they went to look for Deacon Tan Yu had already taken a step forward to welcome them. He smiled and cupped his hands in greeting. Young master, how come you have time to come visit me? Deacon Tan, I've come this time because I've been entrusted by this sir. I beg you to come. You're exaggerating, sir. If there's anything you need, feel free to tell me. If I can do it, I won't refuse. Then I'll let this sir speak to you. Young Master Shui Yun moved aside to let Xing Hui pass. Qing Su immediately handed over a drawing he had asked someone to draw for him to Warden Tan Yu. He said, I have a huge conflict with this person, so please tell me where he is, Warden Tan. If I've guessed correctly, he should be under the protection of Warden Tan's branch right now. Huh? Seeing the portrait Xing Hui handed over, Tan Yu's face changed slightly, but soon turned to doubt. This person. I haven't seen him before. Is your excellency mistaken? Huh? Seeing Tan Yu's denial, Xing Hui frowned. The next moment, he operated the deduction technique again. The final result made his expression turn slightly cold. It seems that young Master Shui Yun's face isn't useful. Or is it that Deacon Tan Yu wants to protect him? Huh? Deacon Tan, what's the matter? Young Master Shui Yun's face immediately darkened. Young Master Shui Yun, it's not that I don't want to give you face, but I really haven't seen this person before. Tan Yu's face was filled with embarrassment. Xing Hui glanced at Tan Yu. If Remnant Sword was only talented, Tan Yu shouldn't have risked defending young Master Shui Yun to protect him. It seemed that Remnant Sword should have promised Tan Yu other benefits, which forced him to take the risk out of desperation. Deacon Tan, you have to think clearly. The reason I'm talking to you now is because of the Maplewood sect behind you. If it weren't for the Maplewood sect's feelings, do you think I would care about a little 7 changes cultivator like you? Xing Hui's expression was indifferent. At the same time, he said to young Master Shui Yun, Young Master, it's not that I'm taking advantage of my power to bully you. It's just that some people don't give you face at all. If I can really find out the location of my enemy or related clues from this branch, I wonder if young Master can block the investigation from the Maplewood sect for me. Young Master Shui Yun pondered for a moment, and his expression became serious. If Mr. can really prove that Deacon Tan has protected your enemy, then I'll take responsibility for the investigation from the sect. Okay. Your Excellency Shin Chong. Xing Hui said. Immediately, Shin Chong, who had been keeping a low profile, stepped forward. His gaze fell directly on Deacon Tan Yu. His aura surged, and the pressure of qi and blood, which was as thick as an abyss, made everyone present hold their breaths. Seeing Shin Chong suddenly appear, everyone present was shocked. Young Master Shui Yun and Tan Yu even exclaimed at the same time, "It's Shin Chong from the Void Rush Sword Sect." "It's actually Shin Chong from the Void Rush Sword Sect." Tan Yu's expression suddenly became extremely unsightly. The reason he dared to refuse young Master Shui Yun's request was that, on the one hand, his strength was tyrannical, and he didn't care about Xing Hui, a god's chosen one. On the other hand, the benefits Remnant Sword brought him were too great. Therefore, he didn't hesitate to take the risk of offending young Master Shui Yun. But now, Deacon Tan Yu, are you still unwilling to hand him over? Or are you willing to sacrifice yourself for his sake? Shin Chong looked at Tan Yu and said expressionlessly. With his cultivation, it wasn't difficult to kill Tan Yu. Even capturing him alive and interrogating him would be easy. After all, young Master Shui Yun would bear the consequences of offending the Maplewood sect. He didn't have to worry at all. Naturally, he could act unscrupulously. Tan Yu's face revealed a trace of bitterness. This time, he really suffered a double loss. But under the pressure of Shin Chong, a famous expert in the 8th transformation, he had no choice but to yield. "I'll take Mr. to that person's hiding place." Chapter 506. Tan Yu's words undoubtedly proved that Xing Hui's enemy was indeed in this branch. A branch deacon actually dared to deceive him. This result immediately made young Master Shui Yun's face turn somewhat ugly. Xing Hui had directly forged the heavy light sword for him, but he had nearly failed the task entrusted by Xing Hui. This naturally made him rather furious. "Deacon Tan, you'd better obediently hand over the person. Otherwise, a mere deacon title might not be able to protect you. I believe that many people would want to take up a position as lucrative as the Mapletown branch." Being threatened in terms of power by young Master Shui Yun and strength by the Chong Su Sword Sect, Tan Yu naturally felt extremely sullen. However, he could only put on a submissive expression. "Rest assured, young master. I will personally lead everyone to capture the person. I will definitely not make things difficult for this mister." "I hope so." Young Master Shui Yun snorted discontentedly. Under Tan Yu's lead, the group quickly arrived at a courtyard at the back of the Maple Forest Sect branch. This courtyard was occupied by some servants. Who would have thought that a genius like Savage Sword, who had cultivated a remarkable ability and was proud and arrogant, would actually be willing to gather with a group of cooks and attendants in order to avoid Xing Hui? Tan Yu led the group to a servant's room and pushed open the door. However, they discovered that Savage Sword's figure was nowhere to be seen in this room that was occupied by 4 people. There was only one servant who was tidying up his things. When this servant saw Tan Yu personally arrive, he was so frightened that he trembled. He hurriedly knelt down and saluted. "Greetings, Deacon, let me ask you, where did the newcomer who lived with you, Zhou Longjian, go?" "Zhou Longjian? He left here 2 hours ago. I also don't know where he went." 2 hours ago, Tan Yu's expression immediately changed. Zhou Longjian, who was also Savage Sword, had actually left ahead of time. Clearly, he did not completely trust Tan Yu. Even relying on Tan Yu for protection was only a pretense. His purpose was to interfere with Xing Hui's judgment and gain a day's time. As long as he could hold on for 1 day and wait for Xing Hui's backtrack to end, he would be able to kill Xing Hui in the real world and win the war against chaos. "Sir, this," young Master Shui Yun could only turn his gaze to Xing Hui. Xing Hui carefully calculated the time. He only had 6 hours left. Once the 6 hours were up and the backtrack spell was completed, his aura would inevitably change. At that time, Broken Sword wouldn't just use a puppet to disturb him. He would definitely use a thunderous attack to kill him. Find him. Use every method you can to find him. Don't let go of any clues. After 2 hours, regardless of whether you find his final location or not, gather all the clues to me." Xing Hui took a deep breath and said in a deep voice. The accuracy of the technique of divination was related to the specific information Qing Su possessed. The more information he possessed, the greater the chances of his divination succeeding. It was just like how he had been constantly divining that the damaged sword was hidden in the fallen maple town. This was all based on the information he possessed, and in reality, there was nothing wrong with his divination. The damaged sword had indeed been hidden in the fallen maple town, but he had been too cautious. After hiding for a period of time in the fallen maple town, he had actually gone into hiding silently after releasing a smoke bomb, which was why Qing Su had made a mistake in his divination and wasted a lot of time. What are you waiting for? Go and find him as soon as possible. Tell your men to go. Young Master Shui Yun said coldly to Tan Yu. Wait a moment. Qing Su thought of his divination earlier and immediately said, the damaged sword should still be in the fallen maple town. At this time, Tan Yu had also vented his resentment towards Broken Sword. In order to atone for his crime, he fiercely shouted towards the door, men, spread out. Even if we have to dig 3 feet into the ground of fallen maple town, we have to find that bastard. Yes. Along with a series of responses, the entire branch began to move rapidly. That broken sword is not a weakling. I'm afraid any cultivator below the 5th transformation is no match for him. It's best to have a 6th transformation expert leading the team. Even if those ordinary disciples are searching, it's best to have them pay close attention to each other's information and communicate with each other. Once someone stops responding, it's certain that they've found his location. Sir, don't worry. As long as he's in fallen maple town, he won't be able to escape. Young Master Shui Yun then said to the elite guards behind him, follow me. We'll search together. But young master, the guards behind young Master Shui Yun immediately hesitated. What are you afraid of? Young Master Shui Yun glanced at Shin Chong and said, with an 8th transformation expert from the Void Rush Sword sect around, what can that person do? When the guards heard this, they were deeply convinced of Shin Chong's strength and immediately nodded solemnly, we'll have to trouble Master Shin Chong to protect young Master's safety. Everyone, don't worry. With me here, that villain definitely won't be able to do anything. The guards nodded and left one after another. Sir, don't worry. Although there are many people coming and going in fallen maple town, our maple forest sect has already made it impregnable. As long as he's still in fallen maple town, it won't take long for us to find him. Tan Yu advised in a low voice. I hope so. Xing Hui replied in a low voice. Now, all that was left was to wait. Just as Tan Yu said, their control over the entire fallen maple town had reached the pinnacle. When they fully mobilized, no one could hide. Soon, someone sent news that they had lost contact with some of the branch members. By the time they found those members, they had already been killed on the mental plane. After hearing this result, Xing Hui was no longer willing to sit here. He immediately led Shin Chong and the others to the location of the incident. Before the group arrived at the location of the incident, a series of exclamations suddenly came from not far away. There's no response from the 14th squad. They're at Lu Hui Alley. Lu Hui Alley. Surround that area. Let's go. Xing Hui shouted. He immediately flew up on his sword and rushed towards the location of the sound. Young Master Shui Yun, Tan Yu, and the others followed closely behind. Tan Yu was constantly making hand signals. Many members of the Maple Forest Sect's branch quickly surrounded them from all directions. Soon, the area within a 1-mile radius was completely surrounded. Savage Sword, how much longer can you hide? Come out. Seeing that the area was completely sealed, Xing Hui let out a sigh of relief. At the same time, he stood in the void and shouted towards the area. The area below was silent. After a while, the door of one of the houses was pushed open. Savage Sword's figure appeared in front of Xing Hui. He looked at Xing Hui with a hint of coldness in his eyes. You're quite capable. You actually used less than 20 hours to find my location. After saying that, he glanced at Tan Yu and said, to think that I even asked him to protect me by forging a divine weapon for him. Tan Yu's expression changed slightly. Forging an item? Xing Hui frowned. Savage Sword was also enchanted with the Divine Protection technique? This was a characteristic that he did not expect. However, it did not make sense. With Savage Sword's identity and the backing of the Li Hen Holy Man and the Zhu Zhao Elder, the Divine Protection technique was completely useless to him. After all, if he wanted to use the Divine Protection technique to forge something, he would not be able to directly ask the Li Hen Holy Man or the Zhu Zhao Elder. You raised your chaos level. That's right. A hint of pain flashed across Remnant Sword's face. My chaos level was originally 28. Fortunately, I happen to have more than 200 Daoist charms as backup. Otherwise, if I were to be dragged into the battle of chaos, I'm afraid I wouldn't have any hope of winning. But now, that might not be the case. You only have 4 hours left, right? Of my 2 chaos levels, I spent one on the Divine Protection technique. The other chaos level was spent on the teleportation spell that a level 30 Son of Chaos should have. I can't defeat you, but can't I hide for a day? You still have 4 hours. Why don't you guess where I will be sent to this round of teleportation spell? Will you be able to find my location in these 4 hours? Kill him. Xing Hui's expression changed. He immediately shouted at Shinchong. At the same time, his sword intent burst forth. He was going to rely on the power of his sword intent to interfere with Savage Sword's teleportation spell. Ha ha ha, remember, you only have 4 hours. Savage Sword did not give Shinchong any time to attack. He opened his mouth and laughed wantonly. The next moment, his figure disappeared on the spot, allowing Shinchong's attack to descend. With a roar that broke through the void, the house he was in was blasted into dust. He escaped again. Xing Hui took a deep breath. He knew that the more crucial the moment was, the more he could not be anxious. At this time, he had to calmly analyze and use the deduction technique to find out where Savage Sword might be teleported to. However, based on the current situation, to find Savage Sword's hiding place, it was too difficult. Sir, next, Tenyu stood beside the gloomy Xing Hui. His heart was filled with uneasiness. He was afraid that this God's chosen one would lose control and order Shinchong to vent his anger on him. Collect all the information about Savage Sword's appearance in Maple Town. Do not miss any details. Xing Hui said coldly. Yes. Tenyu responded and quickly ordered people to do as he was told. When Xing Hui returned to the Maple Forest sect branch, a stack of information had been piled up in front of Xing Hui. Xing Hui had to suppress his emotions and quickly flip through them. As he flipped through, Xing Hui quickly noticed some key information. Savage Sword appeared in Maple Town 12 hours ago. 12 hours ago, that is to say, he was in the forest for 6 hours. Logically speaking, when the War of Chaos starts, people will not be directly placed in the core of the battlefield. That is to say, Savage Sword appeared in Maple Town at the beginning, but he left Maple Town and stepped into the Lost Forest. I guess, he is choosing the location to teleport to when the time comes. Xing Hui flipped through the information, and time passed unknowingly. After waiting for the deduction technique to cool down, he once again used it to deduce the location of Savage Sword. 6 hours, a round trip of 3 hours. At the same time, a trace of mud on Savage Sword flashed across Xing Hui's mind. That kind of mud was very similar to the big river that he and Shinchong passed by. The location should be near that big river. After various information flashed through Xing Hui's mind, a general area was immediately circled by Xing Hui. Shinchong, bring a detailed map of the Lost Forest and follow me. Chapter 507. In the air, Xing Hui was flying at full speed on his sword, while constantly looking at the map. He had seen Broken Sword's flying sword before. It was at the 11th level, which was 1 level lower than his sky-splitting sword. But because he was flying at full speed, compared to Xing Hui and Shinchong's speed, he was still faster. Xing Hui estimated that he should be about 2,000 kilometers deep into the Lost Forest. With the big river as a reference, the range had been greatly reduced. However, this was only a relative term. When Xing Hui and Shen Chong really arrived at the location that Xing Hui estimated, looking at the vast forest around them, they still had a headache. "Mister, are you able to speculate his specific location? Moreover, even if you are able to speculate, we still have to be careful of him moving around at any time." Shen Chong had already lost some hope in finding Xing Hui's opponent, Broken Sword. It's impossible for him to move around at any time. Since he has chosen a place to hide, he naturally has to hide well. The demonic beasts in the Lost Forest are from the 4th to the 10th level, but in fact, most of them are from the 5th to the 6th level. Among them, most of the demonic beasts in the lower levels would choose to live in groups. For the 5th and 6th level demonic beasts that live in groups, even he would have to spend a lot of effort to kill them. In order to avoid causing a big commotion when killing demonic beasts, he should have chosen a place to hide in advance. After choosing, he would not act rashly, so as to avoid being detected by the demonic beasts and causing a battle. But with the clues that we currently have, we can at most narrow down the range to a radius of 300 kilometers. In this range of 300 kilometers, with our methods, to find a person, is really too difficult. A radius of 300 kilometers. With Xing Hui's current state where many of his methods were suppressed to the limit, to find a person was indeed like looking for a needle in a haystack. But, even if it was like looking for a needle in a haystack, he had to think of a way to fish out Broken Sword. Otherwise, what awaited him was death. In the battle of chaos, mastering all kinds of special abilities is important. Luck is also important. No wonder the heavenly axiom, which is obviously much stronger than the heavenly axiom, doesn't dare to recklessly start a battle of chaos with the heavenly axiom. No matter how strong the heavenly axiom's lineup is, it can't withstand the factor of luck. Once the heavenly axiom is extremely lucky and has mastered several major variables at the beginning, even though the heavenly axiom's many characteristics and level of chaos are above the heavenly axioms, there is still the possibility of failure. Therefore, the heavenly axiom doesn't dare to casually start a battle with the heavenly axiom. Many thoughts flashed through Xing Hui's mind. Heaven Dome was not a weakling. If the heavenly Tao wanted to ensure that nothing would go wrong, the average chaos level was only 2 or 3 levels higher than Heaven Dome. Clearly, that was not reliable. It was like two athletes. One's speed was 100 meters in 10 seconds, while the other's was 100 meters in 9 seconds. This did not mean that the 100 meters in 9 seconds could always beat the 100 meters in 10 seconds. Many factors, such as state, venue, performance, environment, and so on, could lead to a reversal of the outcome. However, if the 100 meters in 9 seconds athlete made a breakthrough and reached the 100 meters in 8 seconds or even 7 seconds in one breath, no matter how extraordinary the 100 meters in 10 seconds athlete's performance was, it was impossible to turn the tables. Because this kind of gap had already reached a substantial level. "Sir, what should we do now? Should we wait patiently at the side or—" "Wait," Xing Hui collected his thoughts and glanced around. "Time waits for no one. I estimate that there are only 2 hours left. In these 2 hours, I must find him. But, we have a range of 200 to 300 kilometers. If we have 2 hours, we won't be able to find him, right? We may not be able to find him, but there is something that can help us." As Xing Hui spoke, his eyes fell on the river not far away. "I remember that this place is not far from the 9-trace blood python's lair, right?" Shen Chong made a rough estimation. "Not far. About 300 to 400 kilometers. Then, let's let the 9-trace blood python lead the demonic beast army to help us find that little ant hiding in Broken Sword." Xing Hui sneered. "I remember you said that the 9-trace blood python is very sensitive to the aura of the blood grass. Even if it is hundreds or thousands of kilometers away, it can still sense its aura." "Yes. The higher the level of the blood python, the more sensitive it is to the blood grass. A 9-trace blood python's sensing range is up to 1,000 kilometers. It's not unusual." Then, with a flip of his hand, several blood-red stalks of grass appeared in Qing Su's hand. Blood grass. Sir, are you thinking of? Shinchong suddenly thought of something. I stole all the blood-patterned grass planted by the 9 Traces blood python. It is currently in a state of rage. It almost caused a beast tide to sweep through the forest. If it senses the aura of the blood-patterned grass here at this moment, it will definitely go berserk. Shinchong said with certainty. But in this way, I'm afraid we will be in great danger. At this time, we can't care so much. Xing Hui took out the blood grass for a moment. After estimating that the 9 Trace blood python should have sensed the aura of the blood grass, he put it away again. As expected, in less than a moment, waves of angry roars came from the direction of the 9 Trace blood python from afar. The entire forest within a radius of several hundred kilometers fell into a riot. Countless powerful ferocious beasts and demonic beasts fought to go berserk. There was no peace within a radius of nearly 1,000 kilometers. Now, pay close attention and see if you can find Broken Sword. This is our only chance, Xing Hui said in a deep voice. Even in a unique environment like the Chaos Battlefield, the rank 1 teleportation spell had a cooldown time of 1 day. Once Broken Sword appeared, Xing Hui did not have to worry about him escaping with the teleportation spell again. Not long after, Xing Hui saw the 9 Trace blood python's huge figure, which was as huge as a moving city wall. Even if the 9 Trace blood python's huge figure was casually tossed about in the forest, it could cause a terrifying destructive force that could destroy heaven and earth. Wherever it wreaked havoc, there was almost no place left intact. Even a mountain would collapse because of its huge figure. Where is it hiding? Xing Hui concentrated and tried his best to hide in a tall ancient tree while looking around. At the same time, he raised his head. This time, the 9-traced blood python had clearly learned his lesson. Not only did he lead an army of demons over, but he had also commanded a group of scarlet-winged wyverns. These wyverns possessed the ability to soar through the air, and their battle prowess was not weak either. They were all between the 6th and 7th step, and there were 200 or 300 of them. Once Qing Su was bold enough to fly into the air and observe the situation within several hundred kilometers, he would definitely become the wyvern's prey. The field of vision is too small. Even if the Broken Sword is really forced out, it won't be easy for me to lock onto its position immediately. Give me 3 days and I'll definitely be able to dig out the Broken Sword. But now, I have less than 2 hours left. As the time limit of the backtrack spell approached, Xing Hui began to feel anxious. He had to find a way to break out of this situation. Only by entering the void and looking down from above can I locate Broken Sword's location immediately. Xing Hui raised his head and finally set his eyes on a rank 6 wyvern not far away from him. Shinchong, I have given you the 10 blood-patterned grass that you asked for. You have also given me what I need. Our deal is complete. If there are any accidents or if I don't come looking for you in 2 hours, you can leave immediately. Well. Sir, please be careful. Shinchong hesitated for a moment. Don't worry. Xing Hui turned his gaze and looked at the interface of the Son of Chaos. He had 69 Taoist rhymes left. However, in addition to these Taoist rhymes, he also had the 88 Taoist rhymes item that he had safeguarded for Hidden Sword Venerable. In other words, he had a total of 157 Taoist rhymes. It was not difficult for him to raise his chaotic level. As the Green Ruins mind focused, the item containing the 100th aura of Ways immediately turned to dust. In the next moment, his chaotic level directly rushed to the 51st step. However, after reaching the 51st step, he did not choose to increase his comprehension, nor did he increase his technique of divination. Instead, he placed his new level on the special ability he had derived from the 50th step, the transformation technique. Whoosh! In the next moment, a sword ray pierced through the air and beheaded the rank 6 wyvern. Fresh blood splattered across the sky. Qing Su leapt up. When the other wyvern sensed the abnormality here, he immediately intercepted a droplet of blood, and then, the transformation technique was activated. Instantly, Tsing Hui's mind seemed to have seen the pattern of the rank 6 wyvern's genetic structure through the drop of blood. Moreover, he rapidly reorganized himself according to this genetic pattern through the transformation technique. Amidst the intense pain, his body was completely reconstructed in just a few breaths. He directly transformed into a rank 6 wyvern. After transforming into a rank 6 wyvern, Tsing Hui clearly felt that his senses, vision, touch, hearing, and so on had all undergone a series of changes. Although his consciousness was still that of a human, his 5 senses had become the same as a snake's. He even had the ability to sense living things through heat and air vibrations. Correspondingly, his vision began to deteriorate greatly. This made Tsing Hui, who originally thought that he could fly high in the sky and look down below to lock onto the position of the broken sword, feel extremely speechless. Transformation technique. The duration is determined by the life essence and attribute level. The attributes of this body of mine are extremely poor. I completely rely on my spirit level to raise the average, but even so, my total attribute level is only rank 148. On average, it's only rank 37, which is equivalent to a rank 3 demonic beast. Fortunately, my life essence is 2 levels higher than the red-winged wyvern, so the transformation technique can last up to half an hour. I have to use this highly myopic vision to observe the ground for half an hour. I've dug my own grave. Tsing Hui was somewhat helpless. However, he had no choice but to control this body that was clearly not used to flying into the sky. He flapped his wings and patrolled around. However, Tsing Hui quickly realized that the body of a wyvern was not as simple as he had imagined. The red-winged wyverns clearly had a special communication system. After Tsing Hui transformed into a red-winged wyvern, he was actually able to understand their communication. And the advantage of this discovery was, the more than 300 red-winged wyverns in the void could share information. Through this kind of information sharing, he quickly realized that something was not right. 2 wyverns had mysteriously disappeared. I've finally found you. Chapter 508. Whoosh! Tsing Hui's wings flapped and his 30-meter-long body made a turn. He quickly flew towards the area where the 2 flying dragons had mysteriously disappeared. Soon, he arrived at his destination. Here, he carefully looked around and quickly grasped some clues. Ferocious beasts, spiritual beasts, holy beasts, divine beasts. Among the many living creatures, ferocious beasts usually acted based on their instincts. Spiritual beasts had a little bit of spirituality, but their intelligence couldn't be compared to ordinary people. Even some ordinary holy beasts had intelligence, but it was very difficult for them to communicate with humans. Only the 6 divine beasts, or the holy beasts with higher intelligence, and divine beasts had the ability to smoothly communicate with humans. Furthermore, they could think, calculate, and even use tools. Red-winged flying dragon, spiritual beasts obviously did not think much about such details. Unfortunately, although Tsing Hui had the appearance of a red-winged flying dragon, he was not a real red-winged flying dragon. The traces left behind by the remnant sword in a hurry became the biggest flaw he left behind. Following these flaws, he quickly chased after them. In a short while, he had chased them for hundreds of kilometers. You're quite fast at escaping. I'd like to know where you can escape to. Tsing Hui carefully sensed. Flying dragons were very sensitive to vibrations on the ground and even in the air. Tsing Hui glanced at the deduction technique that had finished cooling down. With this special ability, he directly operated the deduction technique. Suddenly, countless details and data flashed through his mind, and soon, they were intertwined into an extremely detailed report. After receiving this information, Tsing Hui's eyes flashed. The next moment, he directly turned around and rushed towards an area similar to a swamp that he had just passed by. After less than 10 kilometers, Tsing Hui directly controlled this body and began to spray venom into the swamp. The red-winged flying dragon's lethality was not strong, but due to its snake-like characteristics, there was a powerful venom in its body. These venoms were often fatal. Not to mention an ordinary human whose physique was only equivalent to a first change demon beast, even a sixth change, seventh change, or eighth change demon beast would die from the venom of the red-winged flying dragon. Bastard! Seeing Xing Hui release poison into the swamp, Broken Sword, who had buried himself in the swamp, immediately let out a low roar and leaped out of the swamp. With a low roar, a powerful sword intent with terrifying power slashed towards Xing Hui. It tried to kill Xing Hui at the soul level like it did with ordinary sixth transformation monsters. However, what he did not know was that the red-winged flying dragon in front of him was not as simple as an ordinary red-winged flying dragon. Broken Sword, you're finally willing to jump out. Xing Hui's eyes sparkled as he spoke in a low voice. However, due to the difference in vocal cords between humans and red-winged wyverns, the sound it made was also a hissing sound, as if it was asking for help from its companions. Stop here. The sword intent in the Green Ruin's spiritual world protected his soul, completely ignoring the sword intent from the remnant sword. His colossal body was like a predator that stood at the very top of all living creatures, lunging towards the remnant sword viciously. The rain of blood that swept out directly made the remnant sword retreat. Buzz! Sword intent vibrated. Broken Sword's sword intent slashed into Xing Hui's spiritual world, but before it could cause any ripples, it was suppressed by Xing Hui's sword intent and turned into dust. The pain caused by the collapse of the sword intent caused Broken Sword's expression to change greatly. How can this monster, a sixth transformation monster, was equivalent to a sixth-rank spirit beast? An existence at this level might not be able to compare to the might of a visionary divine expert when they unleashed their battle physique, but it was definitely not something a mere Awakening Realm cultivator could resist, even if the Awakening Realm cultivator was originally an almighty who had cultivated a remarkable ability. Die! Following Xing Hui's low roar, Xing Hui, who had pounced over like lightning, slapped Broken Sword's body. In an instant, a power that Broken Sword's Awakening Realm body could not resist burst out and shattered his fragile body on the spot. No! Following Broken Sword's mournful and unwilling scream, Xing Hui also felt the various restraints of the entire chaos battlefield on him rapidly disappearing. At this time, he could withdraw his consciousness from the chaos battlefield at any time and return to his body. It's over. Xing Hui muttered. In just a short day, he naturally did not have much nostalgia for this world. He had also taken the only cultivation system in this world that he was somewhat interested in from Shinchong. Without any hesitation, he directly withdrew his consciousness from the chaos battlefield and returned to his body. In the void, the alchemy puppet was still constantly harassing Xing Hui, but how could Xing Hui, who had already changed his state, care about a mere alchemy puppet? The Scarlet Abyss sword chi burst out, and the powerful 10th rank alchemy puppet was directly pierced through by his sword. Sparks burst out, and he almost completely destroyed it. No! Outside the Hatred Heaven realm, Broken Sword let out a painful scream. Compared to before, his essence, energy, and spirit had fallen by a large margin. He looked at Xing Hui with eyes full of resentment and pain. Bastard, you actually, Broken Sword. Without the various characteristics of the Son of Chaos amplification, I'd like to see what you can do to me. Broken Sword stared at Xing Hui, his eyes bloodshot from intense rage. I won't let you go. I won't let you go. I swear to the heavens, I won't let you go. Bastard. You're dead. You're dead. Why don't we see who dies first between the two of us? Xing Hui stared coldly at Broken Sword. With a flip of his hand, he took out an image recording stone. Taking advantage of the fact that Broken Sword was outside the Hatred Heaven realm, he quickly used the image recording stone to record the scene before him. At the same time, a part of his consciousness appeared in the sky and flew towards the Celestial Master's courtyard at the fastest speed possible. Broken Sword's pupils shrank when he saw the image recording stone in Xing Hui's hand. Once Xing Hui handed the image recording stone to the Celestial Master, the sword wielder in the Celestial Master would definitely send a clone down immediately and bring this traitor of the Celestial Master to justice. As for charging into the hatred heaven realm to fight Xing Hui to the death, it was meaningless. His earlier confrontation with Xing Hui had already proven that Xing Hui's abilities were not inferior to his. For the time being, he could not do anything to Xing Hui, especially since his level 8 recovery characteristics had been taken away in one fell swoop. He could no longer unleash his abilities as unrestrained as before. Under such circumstances, Xing Hui was completely capable of using his level 10 recovery characteristics to drag him to death. If a non-chaos son of chaos fought a peak level 40 son of chaos, the chances of victory would drop to an extremely low level. I have to solve the problem of the sword wielder as soon as possible. Fortunately, my father had already thought of this problem long ago and had a plan. It was only because he was afraid of being exposed that he did not activate it. Broken Sword thought to himself and immediately split a portion of his consciousness into the Chaos Temple and found the Hatred Holy Man immediately. As he searched for the Hatred Holy Man, his expression changed continuously. When Xing Hui, this little bastard, slandered me the last time, Zhu Zhao did his best to protect me. If Xing Hui really brings the image recording stone to Zhu Zhao will fly into a rage out of humiliation and use a teleportation spell to personally kill me nearby. As he thought of this, he did not dare to waste any more time here. He clenched his fist and the Hatred Heaven Realm quickly appeared in his hand and enveloped his entire body. This way, with the interference of the Hatred Heaven Realm, at least it could affect the sword wielder's ability to lock onto his position. However, seeing that Broken Sword had kept the Hatred Heaven Realm, Xing Hui quickly followed and seemed to be stalking him. This scene immediately caused Broken Sword's expression to change slightly and he immediately unleashed his full speed. However, even though he was fast, Xing Hui was not slow either. The level 12 flying sword, Heaven Splitter, was definitely one of the best in the market. Apart from a few flying swords that were unearthed from ancient caves, the level 12 flying sword represented the pinnacle of flying sword craftsmanship in the entire Divine Wilderness. Relying on the level 12 flying sword and the recovery ability of the level 10 flying sword, Broken Sword was unable to successfully shake off Xing Hui at all. Bastard! Go to hell! Looking at Qing Su who was right behind him, Chan Jian roared out furiously and sent out another ability. The Heavenly Pang's battle body turned into a sharp blade that could slice through space, slashing towards Qing Su viciously. He moved with unbelievable speed. Clang! The Scarlet Abyss sword hummed. Xing Hui, who was already prepared, unleashed his sword intent. The Scarlet Abyss sword emitted a resplendent brilliance and collided with Broken Sword's divine ability head-on. Thousands of sword flashes shot out at the moment of collision, cutting through the void. Some of the sword flashes even splattered onto the ground, creating sword scars that were thousands of meters long and even tens of thousands of meters long, causing the earth to shake violently. Fortunately, the place where the two of them fought was rather remote. If the two of them were in the sky above a country, the sword chi would be enough to slice a city in half, causing tens of thousands of casualties. With Broken Sword's obstruction, the distance between the two of them was slightly pulled apart. However, as Xing Hui spared no effort in expending his vital energy, he quickly regained his footing and was still far behind Broken Sword. Broken Sword! Since I'm definitely going to die today, why are you in such a hurry to leave? Why don't you stay and fight me to the death? Wouldn't that be great? Bastard! Broken Sword let out an angry roar. The more time was pressing, the greater the chance of him falling into danger. No one knew what method Heaven would use to deal with him after learning of his betrayal. If he did not get rid of Xing Hui as soon as possible, Heaven's people would chase after him based on the clues provided by Xing Hui. A moment later, the Broken Sword seemed to think of something. He glanced at the grief-parting heaven realm that was protecting him, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. A rank 40 son of chaos. Since this bastard used the primal chaos war to strip me of my primal chaos rank, then his primal chaos rank shall be my compensation. However, just by relying on words alone, even if the heavenly axiom values Xing Hui, they probably won't let an invincible divine stage powerhouse personally take action. Letting a Dao Lord keep an eye on him is already the limit. But if it's just a Dao Lord, it's still not safe. I must let my father, the Lihan holy man, personally take action and kill him to ensure that nothing goes wrong. If I let him personally take action. In the next moment, the Lihan heaven realm that enveloped Broken Swords suddenly turned and actually turned towards Tsing-Hui again, enveloping Tsing-Hui within. Although losing the Lihan heaven realm will result in a heavy punishment, but Tsing-Hui who has obtained the Lihan heaven realm will definitely die. Chapter 509. Firmament. Tsing-Hui did not dare to delay when he arrived at the firmament realm. It could be said that he traveled as fast as lightning. Unfortunately, his authority had been taken away by Firmament Master, Reverend Zhu Zhao, Reverend Zhangzhen, and the others. He could not appear outside Firmament Master's courtyard by traveling through space. Otherwise, he would not have to use such a troublesome method like flying. He quickly flew through the air on his sword, but by the time Qing Su actually arrived at the mountain where the Firmament Master resided, quite a lot of time had still passed. Coupled with the fact that he did not possess the right to meet the Firmament Master directly, he could only report to the Firmament Master through the disciple guarding the mountain and ask to see him. At this moment, Firmament Master was chatting with Reverend Purple Xiao and Reverend Wu Fei. The two reverends did not have a high level of chaos. However, Purple Xiao was proficient in the resurrection spell while Reverend Wu Fei had a higher level of luck. Although they had not reached the maximum level, they could be of great use in the battle of chaos. At critical moments, they could produce miraculous effects. Therefore, the two of them were members of the first echelon in the battle of chaos. Master, His Excellency Pak Hui, a high-level member, is outside. He wants to see you about something important. Firmament Master was discussing with Reverend Wu Fei whether he could raise his level 8 luck to level 10. His disciple, Zhang Yun, who had stopped Tsing-Hui earlier, had already reported to him outside the door. He had interrupted Tsing-Hui's conversation with the two reverends because Tsing-Hui had made the matter sound too serious. He had no choice but to treat it seriously. Pak Hui. Firmament Master was slightly stunned. Is it that boy from Eastern Wilderness? Reverend Purple Xiao clearly remembered Pak Hui. He's the son of chaos I recommended. I still remember him. However, I heard from Sister Li that there's something wrong with Pak Hui not long ago. This isn't very likely, right? This matter is complicated. In fact, I've been investigating him based on the information I received recently. I even asked the Pavilion Master of the Divine Secret Pavilion to divine his origin. However, the divination failed. You should know that before I asked the Pavilion Master of the Divine Secret Pavilion to divine his origin, I've prepared a lot of information. I've provided his identity in Eastern Wilderness. You've provided all the information about the Eastern Wilderness? Reverend Purple Sky was slightly taken aback. Even with such detailed information, the deduction still failed. How was this possible? Could it be that his primal chaos level is much higher than the Pavilion of Divinations? According to my investigation, he had been to the Fortune mainland once. There is a supreme immortal technique called the reversal of yin and yang. You should have heard of it before. It has an inconceivable effect on blocking the deductions of others. But because it is too difficult to cultivate, even though it has been passed down in large chaos organizations like us, no one has learned it. Even those who have entered the sect are few and far between. I've seen the yin-yang reversal immortal technique before. It's not something that humans can cultivate. Wu Fei Daoist interjected with a smile. It seems that he has a high compatibility with the yin-yang reversal immortal technique. Reverend, have you studied it in detail back then? Wu Fei Daoist nodded. Back then, I was quite curious about the Fortune mainland and investigated it. In the end, I discovered that the immortal techniques on the Fortune mainland were just minor Daos. Even the so-called one chi into three pure ones, reversal of yin and yang, instant blooming flower, and other sect-guarding immortal techniques were not worth mentioning. Moreover, it was extremely time-consuming to cultivate them. Instead of using the time to cultivate these immortal techniques, it was better to polish one's divine ability and break through to a higher realm. As for the divine object on the Fortune mainland, it was also somewhat useless. It required a whole 1,000 Tao rhymes to activate it, but it only made it easier for people to cultivate these minor techniques. With these Tao rhymes, it was better to raise one's primal chaos level or buy some precious resources. Venerable Master Firmament nodded his head and said with a smile, "I've also learned an immortal technique from the Fortune mainland called Magic Arsenal. It's a pity that I've only been able to create 5th or 6th grade spiritual objects." "What can spiritual objects of this grade be used for?" Wufa Daoist and Purple Sky Reverend nodded. Not to mention Venerable Firmament, who was an invincible giant, even with their cultivation bases, they could kill a large number of Venerable Firmament and Venerable Firmament with one divine ability, let alone Venerable Firmament and Venerable Firmament. Such an immortal technique was indeed of little value. It's a little off topic. The fact that we can't deduce Pak Hui's identity is one of the problems. As for the other things, we've investigated more or less, and there's nothing suspicious. Reverend Firmament said. It's good that there are no other problems. Otherwise, it would be my fault if I recommended someone whose identity was lost to us, Reverend Firmament said. Reverend Purple Shao said and then added in doubt, his identity can't be deduced. Since it's the effect of the yin-yang reversal immortal technique, and you've already investigated the other aspects, why haven't you announced this matter yet? This matter, Reverend Firmament hesitated for a moment and shook his head. This matter is a little complicated. If there was no problem with Tsing Hui's identity, then there was no doubt that there was a problem with Savage Sword's identity. However, Reverend Zhu Zhao treated Savage Sword as if he was his own son and junior, and he was deeply attached to him. Before investigating this matter thoroughly, Reverend Firmament really did not know how to face Reverend Zhu Zhao. Therefore, after confirming that there was no problem with Tsing Hui's identity half a year ago, Reverend Firmament quietly put this matter aside and focused on Savage Sword. It was not easy for Reverend Firmament to conclude that there was no problem with Tsing Hui's identity, so he could only focus on investigating Savage Sword. If there was no problem with Savage Sword, it would prove that there was a misunderstanding between them, or that he was used by the Heavenly Tao. This would be the best result. But if not, if Savage Sword was proven to have betrayed Firmament and joined the Heavenly Tao, Reverend Firmament would have enough evidence to convince Reverend Zhu Zhao. Alright, since Pak Hui is here and said that he has something important to say, then let him in. As Reverend Firmament spoke, his gaze swept across, as if piercing through the void, and landed on Tsing Hui, who was full of anxiety outside the mountain peak. Then, with a wave of his hand, Tsing Hui's figure appeared in front of Reverend Firmament. Savage Sword is actually willing to abandon the Lihan Heaven realm. Tsing Hui, who was trapped in the Lihan Heaven realm, watched Savage Sword leave on his sword and disappear into the horizon in the blink of an eye. He was a little surprised. However, after a while, he thought of something. This Lihan Heaven realm is a hot potato. It's the signature treasure of the Lihan Holy Man. Whoever takes it will have to face the wrath of the Lihan Holy Man, but, so what? Tsing Hui slashed out with the scarlet sword in his hand, and the dazzling sword radiance quickly exploded on the energy light screen formed by the Lihan Heaven realm, bursting layer by layer. When the Lihan Heaven realm was controlled by someone and when it was not, the difference in power was like heaven and earth. When Savage Sword was in control of the Lihan Heaven realm, Tsing Hui was trapped, unable to enter and leave, and helpless. Now that Savage Sword had left, the Lihan Heaven realm was an ownerless object, and Tsing Hui used less than 10 breaths to break through the Lihan Heaven realm. With a wave of his hand, the light screen of the Lihan Heaven realm dissipated, and finally turned into a crystal Rubik's Cube-like object that fell into Tsing Hui's hand. This is the Lihan Heaven realm. Tsing Hui glanced at the Lihan Heaven realm. With this treasure, trapping and killing enemies would be a success. Regardless of whether the other party had incarnation techniques or teleportation techniques, once trapped in the Lihan Heaven realm, they would become a prisoner. Just as he was about to continue looking at the Lihan Heaven realm, Tsing Hui's heart skipped a beat, as if he had sensed something. He then frowned and said, is the Firmament Master finally willing to see me? Calculating the time, from the time he split a part of his consciousness into the Chaos Temple, to the Firmament Master, and then from the Firmament Master to the mountain peak where the Firmament Master was, it took a total of more than 40 breaths, which was more than 2 minutes. Outside the Firmament Master's mountain peak, he waited for another 40 breaths, which was another 2 to 3 minutes. In total, it took him 5 minutes to see the Firmament Master's true appearance. By this time, Savage Sword had escaped without a trace. What a waste of a chance to capture Savage Sword alive. Xing Hui sighed and clapped his hand. Suddenly, a circle of invisible ripples spread in all directions, quickly sweeping across a radius of tens of kilometers. Supreme Immortal Technique, Reversal of Yin and Yang. He used this immortal technique to completely erase any tricks that Savage Sword might have left behind, so as to prevent the Lihan Holy Man from teleporting to this area and directly attacking him in order to take back the Lihan Heaven Realm. After doing all this, he put the Lihan Heaven Realm into his personal space. When his original body returned to the Hidden Sword sect, he projected his consciousness into the Chaos Temple, following the Firmament Master's teleportation technique, and appeared in the Firmament Master's courtyard. Master. Since Savage Sword had escaped, Xing Hui's desire to see the Firmament Master was no longer as urgent as before. After bowing to the Firmament Master, he nodded at the Purple Sky Priest and said, "Greetings, Spiritual Master. Pak Hui, you're in a hurry to see me, saying that you have something important to tell me? May I know what happened?" Xing Hui did not beat around the bush and said directly, "I have something to send over. You'll know when you see it. Can you give me the nearest coordinates?" Oh. The Firmament Master knew that Xing Hui's chaos level was extremely high, so he did not doubt this point. After pondering for a while, he nodded at his disciple. The disciple who was responsible for reporting Xing Hui's arrival immediately stepped forward and handed a spiritual imprint to Xing Hui. "Please wait for a moment, Master." After receiving the spiritual imprint, Xing Hui's figure dissipated. His original body, which was heading to the Hidden Sword sect, took out the spiritual imprint and activated the incarnation technique. A trace of consciousness was directly projected into the void tens of millions of kilometers away. Not long after, it appeared outside a magnificent palace. Xing Hui's location was outside the palace, which could be considered magnificent. For safety's sake, this time he only sent down the most ordinary incarnation. Don't resist. Before Xing Hui could take a closer look at what was so special about this palace, a voice echoed in Xing Hui's ears. Then, layers of spatial ripples appeared in front of him. Xing Hui, who had a rank 10 personal space, could naturally recognize that this should be the Firmament Master's Sky Dome Realm gate. After being taken into the Sky Dome Realm by the Firmament Master, the space around him changed. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in the Firmament Master's courtyard, which he had appeared in with the help of the Chaos Shrine not long ago. It looked almost the same as before. The only difference was that when he appeared in the Sky Dome Realm previously, he had only used the power of the Chaos Shrine to create a physical body. Now, the one who came was his incarnation. If he wanted to, he could use the teleportation technique to teleport out of the palace at any time. "You actually sent your incarnation here. It seems like the matter is not small. Alright, you can speak now." The Firmament Master looked at Xing Hui and said seriously. Purple Xiao's Spiritual Master and Wu Fei's Spiritual Master were also slightly curious. This was especially so for Purple Xiao's Spiritual Master. She clearly did not expect that the young man, whom she had personally assessed, would actually become so impressive in less than 10 years. Xing Hui did not keep them in suspense. He immediately took out the image recording stone and said, "Master, you will know after you see the images recorded in this image recording stone." Chapter 510. Oh, a shadow recording stone. The Firmament Master took the shadow recording stone and probed it with his mind. After a while, his expression changed, as expected. "If the Venerable Master still has any doubts about the message I recorded, you might as well contact the sword wielder directly. I believe that he, who has long been prepared to betray our celestial dome empire, probably has the means to avoid being killed by the sword wielder. Now, even if the sword wielder personally makes a move, I'm afraid he won't be able to lock onto his position. Sing Hui added. The firmament master looked serious. He glanced at Sing Hui and did not dare to be negligent. Wait for me here for a while. I have to verify this with the sword wielder. After he finished speaking, his body shuttled and disappeared in front of them. What happened? Something big seems to have happened. Betraying the firmament master? Could it be that there is a traitor in the firmament master? A traitor who is worthy of the sword wielder attacking him personally would not be weak. The Purple Shao's spiritual master and Wufa's spiritual master were curious as they watched the firmament master leave with a solemn expression. Pak Hui. What did you show the firmament master just now? The Purple Shao's spiritual master asked. Qing Su glanced at the Purple Sky Reverend. Earlier, the Sky Reverend, Reverend Zhu Zhao, and the others had considered the fact that they did not know who was the true chess piece of the heavenly ways, so in order to protect their reputation, they did not tell anyone about the two of them. Even core members like the Purple Sky Reverend and Reverend Wufa were no exception. But now, the fact that Sung Jian had betrayed the celestial domain was already set in stone. It could not be changed. He believed that the celestial domain master would announce this news to the outside world before long, so Qing Su did not hide anything. I showed the celestial domain master a shadow recording stone. It was a shadow recording stone that recorded how Sung Jian used the hatred holy man's famed treasure to kill me. The firmament master? The Purple Shao's spiritual master was slightly stunned. On the other hand, Wu Fa smiled and said, Bai Su, you're joking, right? Why did Broken Sword attack you? He is the disciple of Zhu Zhao Venerable, and you, if I remember correctly, can be considered as half a disciple of Zhu Zhao Venerable. The two of you should belong to the same sect, how could you kill each other? Moreover, Savage Sword is a powerful being, and you, it is said that you have only been in the Sky Vault for less than 10 years. That is to say, you were only in the spirit refining realm 10 years ago. If Broken Sword wants to deal with you, he shouldn't need to use too many methods, right? After he finished speaking, he seemed to realize something and added, I don't mean to look down on you. I just feel that this piece of news is a little unbelievable, especially since the Lihan holy man's famous treasure, the Lihan heaven world, has appeared. On the other hand, Reverend Purple Sky seemed to have thought of something when he thought of the brief conversation between Sing Hui and Master Tsang Qiong. He said in a low voice, Pak Hui, the traitor you mentioned just now, could it be Master Zhu Zhao's personal disciple? Broken Sword? Sing Hui glanced at Reverend Purple Sky and Reverend Wufa, who obviously didn't believe him. He didn't want to explain too much. I'm afraid that the Firmament Master will soon finish his investigation. When the time comes, you will naturally know. Could it be? Reverend Wufa opened his mouth and was about to say something. However, at this moment, a ripple flashed across the void. Reverend Sung Zhen and Master Zhu Zhao appeared in the courtyard at the same time. Bai Qi and Dark Phoenix also appeared together with Reverend Sung Zhen and Master Zhu Zhao. These people were the core figures of Master Tsang Qiong who happened to be in the firmament realm. What happened? I don't know. Master Zhu Zhao sent me a message and said that he had something important to discuss with me. After he got my permission, he sent me here directly. I also feel strange. What about you guys? Did you get any news in advance? I don't know either. We can only wait and see what Master Tsang Qiong says. Reverend Song Jin replied. His gaze fell on Sing Hui immediately. Why are you here? Well, I haven't seen you for a long time. On the other hand, Master Zhu Zhao's mental state had obviously withered a lot compared to 2 years ago. He glanced at Sing Hui and did not say anything. He just remained silent. Obviously, after 2 years, he should have found something. However, he was unwilling to face reality because he had not obtained any conclusive evidence. When Reverend Purple Shao and Reverend Wufa saw this scene, they could not help but feel shocked. Master Zhu Zhao's direct disciple, Savage Sword, could not have really betrayed Master Tsang Qiong, right? Whoosh! Not long after the four core experts of Master Tsang Zhen appeared, a ripple flashed across the void. Master Tsang Qiong also appeared at the peak of the mountain. The entire firmament realm belonged to him. In this world, he was like a divine king, possessing supreme and mighty power. It was not difficult for him to send a few people or travel through void. Even running from one end of the world to the other end and traveling a distance of 10 million kilometers was just a thought to him. Master Tsang Qiong, why did you call us here? As soon as Master Tsang Qiong appeared, Bai Qi and Xian Huang could not wait to ask. However, Master Tsang Qiong did not reply. Instead, he handed the image recording stone that Xing Hui had handed to him to Master Zhu Zhao. Master Zhu Zhao, who already had a faint premonition, suddenly trembled when he saw the image recording stone handed to him by Master Tsang Qiong. However, he still reached out to take the image recording stone without hesitation and split his mind to check it. Wu Fa, Purple Shao, Bai Qi, Xian Huang, and the others seemed to have sensed the emotions of Master Tsang Qiong and Master Zhu Zhao, who were at the peak of Master Tsang Qiong, so they did not speak anymore. They all quieted down and waited for the two masters to speak. Buzz! After checking the image recording stone for a moment, the aura on Master Zhu Zhao's body suddenly became chaotic. A terrifying aura that was as vast as an abyss erupted from his body. In an instant, everyone present felt as if they were carrying a majestic divine mountain on their minds. Their thoughts were almost frozen by this terrifying power. Among them, the eyes of Master Tsang Qiong's disciple, who was only at the gold core realm, became unfocused. There was a hint of dullness in his eyes. Master Tsang Qiong, on the other hand, sensed the abnormality. He waved his hand, and the terrifying pressure that almost caused people's minds to freeze completely dissipated. However, even so, no one present could remain calm. Their eyes immediately landed on the image recording stone in Master Zhu Zhao's hand. They were all very surprised. What exactly was recorded on the image recording stone that could make Master Zhu Zhao, who was at the divine stage, lose his composure and even lose control of his own power? If this kind of thing happened at a critical moment when Master Zhu Zhao was cultivating or his realm was unstable, it was enough to make the energy in his body go berserk, and he would explode and die. I've already checked with the sword-bearer. The sword-bearer can sense his aura, but he can't pinpoint his specific location. It's as if someone has used a supreme method to conceal it. At present, the sword-bearer is trying to find a way to penetrate this layer of interference and pinpoint his exact location. Master Tsang Qiong estimated that Master Zhu Zhao had finished watching the scene in the image recording stone, so he said in a deep voice. Could it be, Master Tsang Zhen, who was at the side, also guessed something at this time? His eyes fell on Master Tsang Qiong. Master Tsang Qiong nodded solemnly. Let me see. Master Tsang Zhen stretched out his hand and said to Master Zhu Zhao. Master Zhu Zhao gave the image recording stone to Tsang Zhen and closed his eyes. His whole body was trembling slightly, and a trace of uncontrollable pain appeared on his face. Seeing this scene, Xing Hui knew very well what kind of blow Master Zhu Zhao would face after hearing this news. However, a short pain was better than a long pain. If he hid the news of broken sword because he couldn't bear to see esteemed Zhu Zhao suffer such a blow, then he would be irresponsible to esteemed Zhu Zhao and even the entire Tianqiong domain. It would be a good thing to let esteemed Zhu Zhao see broken sword's true colors as soon as possible. After all, esteemed Zhu Zhao's few disciples were not only broken sword but also Yulan, so he hadn't lost all hope. Damn it! He actually... Master Tsang Zhen looked at it for a moment and could not help but curse, to think that I still somewhat believed him at that time. I didn't expect him to actually, Master, what information is recorded on this image recording stone? Can we also take a look? Master Wufa, who was at the side, asked in a low voice. Master Zhangzhen paused for a moment while holding the image recording stone, but he still handed it to Master Wufa. The evidence is conclusive. I'll let you know sooner or later. Take a look. Master Wufa took the image recording stone. Immediately, Master Purple Sky, Master Black Phoenix, Master Bai Qi, and the others surrounded it. How is this possible? Broken sword. How could he betray Celestial Vault? Why does he have the famous treasure of the Lihan Holy Man, the Lihan Heavenly Realm? Waves of suppressed exclamations quickly came from the mouths of several people. Master Zhangzhen ignored the exclamations of several people after watching the image recording stone. Instead, he turned to Master Zhu Zhao and said, half a year ago, after I couldn't find out what was wrong with Pak Hui, I turned my attention to Broken Sword. At first, I didn't find anything, but when I turned my attention to the information provided by Tsing Hui and the Lihan Holy Man, I caught some useful clues. Following these clues, I investigated all the way and have already found something. I understand now. Before Firmament Master could finish his words, Zhu Zhao's sage had already interrupted him. He said in a low voice, in fact, in the past 2 years, although I didn't spend too much time investigating this matter, I still found a lot of suspicious points. But I chose to ignore many suspicious points because of my own subjectivity. Now, it seems that if I had put those suspicious points together and asked the head of the Divine Secret Pavilion to make a deduction, Broken Sword's identity would have been revealed long ago. It's just that I still have a trace of unrealistic hope in my heart and deceive myself. I've been using the fact that I don't have concrete evidence to evade the truth, that's why I didn't want to face the reality. Master Zhu Zhao sighed when he heard what Master Zhu Zhao said. He didn't know how to persuade him. At this moment, esteemed Zhu Zhao opened his eyes. There was a trace of pain in his eyes, but more than that, there was coldness. Firmament, you don't have to care about my position. We, Firmament, will deal with him the same way we deal with a traitor. Even if you and the sword-bearer don't do anything, I'll do it myself and take back everything that I've given him all these years. Chapter 5:11. I have something to do, so I'll take my leave first. Esteemed Zhu Zhao expressed his attitude clearly and said in low spirits. Then, his figure flashed, and he disappeared in front of everyone. Zhu Zhao, Zhangzhen Venerable opened his mouth and wanted to say something, but he was interrupted by Firmament Venerable Master. Let him have some time alone. It's not good for us to disturb him at this time. Zhu Zhao has been through a lot in these years. I believe he can walk out of this. Zhangzhen Venerable Master nodded. However, when he thought of the many knots that his disciples left in his heart, he could not help but sigh. He was afraid that from now on, esteemed Zhu Zhao would be like him, unwilling to accept any disciple to inherit his mantle. Savage Sword is very familiar with the distribution of our people, resource points, and footholds in Firmament Venerable Master. We need to rearrange many areas, especially some key areas. We need to pay attention to prevent them from being destroyed one by one. Firmament Venerable Master gradually got to the point. That's right. Besides, I think we should gather the team to fight against the chaos. You should know that not every son of chaos has the cultivation base to ensure his safety. Zhangzhen Venerable Master deliberately mentioned this, and then his gaze fell on Tsing Hui. I think the reason why Savage Sword has been targeting Pak Hui as his main target is because his chaos level is not proportional to his cultivation base. It's the easiest to deal with him. Tsing Hui heard Zhangzhen Venerable Master's words and nodded slightly. The main reason why Savage Sword targeted me is that my cultivation base is too weak, and my chaos level is causing trouble. Chaos level, Firmament Venerable Master frowned. Pak Hui, your chaos level is not low, but it's not enough for Savage Sword to expose such a high-level chess piece. He obviously underestimated Pak Hui. Zhangzhen Venerable Master said, Savage Sword thought that as long as he attacked, Pak Hui's life and death would be in his control. He did not consider that his plan might fail and be exposed, which led to a series of wrong decisions and his eventual exposure. Hearing this, The firmament master pondered for a moment before nodding his head slightly in agreement. That's possible. Actually, Xing Hui opened his mouth. All this time, he had been hesitating whether he should tell Master Zhang and Master Zhang about his chaos level, but now, the broken sword had been defeated by Lin Feng and the chaotic grade had been taken away by him. Next, he would definitely think of a way to deal with the Lihan Holy Man. He might even persuade the Lihan Holy Man to deal with him. After all, the Lihan heavenly world that the Lihan Holy Man was famous for was in his hands. If the Lihan Holy Man were to personally descend to deal with him, he would not be able to match up to the Lihan Holy Man. At this point, he could only rely on the power of the heavens to ensure his own safety. In that case, it was imperative that he inform the sages of his true chaotic powers and obtain their cooperation and protection. Thinking of this, he no longer hesitated and directly transmitted his voice to the two masters. Actually, the reason why Remnant Sword targeted me was because of my primal chaos level. Master Zhang and Master Zhang turned their gazes towards Xing Hui in astonishment. Although your chaotic grade has reached the 29th level, but you don't need to risk such an important pawn like Remnant Sword, Xing Hui met the gazes of the two masters and said seriously, the 29th level may not be enough. Then, what about the 40th level? The 40th level? Master Zhang and Master Zhang were stunned for a moment before their expressions changed. Xing Hui, what did you say? The 40th level? Say it clearly, what 40th level? Evidently, they were so agitated that they even called out Xing Hui's name in the real world. From this point, it could be seen that Master Zhang and Master Zhang already had information about him. If he really wanted to hide his chaotic grade, he would not be able to hide it for long. It's the 40th level that you guessed. Xing Hui looked at Master Zhang and Master Zhang and said slowly, if you investigate carefully, you'll know that I've been active in the East Continent, Chongjin Continent, Hidden Sword Continent, and many other continents. I've obtained a large number of Daoist items. In addition, I've obtained a godly item, which allowed me to accumulate Daoist essence rapidly. Therefore, my chaotic grade is no longer the 29th level that I told you a few years ago. It's now the 40th level. The 40th level? The 40th level Son of Chaos? Yes. The special feature of the 40th level is called the backtracking technique. 2 years ago, I was able to escape from Remnant Sword because of the backtracking technique. Otherwise, I'm afraid that I would have been tortured by Remnant Sword and handed over all my secrets and treasures. Remnant Sword guessed my chaotic grade because I used the backtracking technique. That's why he kept his eyes on me and chased after me as soon as he sensed my whereabouts. That's why you saw the scene in the image-retaining stone. The Lihan Heaven Realm. Master Zhang took a deep breath and said, no wonder Remnant Sword did not hesitate to borrow treasures like the Lihan Heaven Realm to deal with you. The Lihan Heaven Realm was to prevent you from escaping using the special teleportation technique that was derived from the 30th level chaotic grade. Not only the teleportation technique, but also the incarnation technique. After my chaotic grade increased, I gained an immortal body. If he can't control my incarnation technique, as long as I still have a trace of vitality left, I can still be reborn from a drop of blood and he can't capture me. The 40th level. A 40th level Son of Chaos. No wonder. Master Zhang murmured. At the same time, he also understood why Xing Hui wanted to communicate with them through voice transmission. Immediately, he glanced at Zi Shao, Wu Fa, Bai Qi, and Xian Huang, and said, everyone, you already understand that the personal disciple of Master Zhu Zhao, Broken Sword, has betrayed Tianqiong. He has a lot of crucial information about Tianqiong in his hands, including the location of some powerful people and even the higher-level experts in the chaotic realm in the real world. I'll give you a mission. Pass the news to them immediately and get them to move as fast as possible, so as to avoid becoming the target of heavenly axiom and damaging our strength. Yes. Wu Fa, Zi Shao, Bai Qi, and Xian Huang responded at the same time. They naturally knew the seriousness of the problem Master Zhang was facing. Go quickly. Master Tsongjin said. The immortals did not stay any longer. They traveled through the void and quickly left the mountain. They either contacted other members or left the Chaos Temple directly to do as they were told. Oh no! Remnant Sword knows that Sing Hui's chaotic grade has reached the 40th level, so he naturally understands the threat he will pose to the chaos. Especially when Sing Hui is still extremely weak, he will definitely try to kill Sing Hui to ensure that nothing goes wrong. In this way, Sing Hui's situation will be extremely dangerous. I understand that. However, with the teleportation technique, my situation may not be as bad as everyone imagines. It's not as if I don't have the ability to protect myself. The ability to protect yourself? You mean the backtracking skill? The greatest effect of the backtracking skill is that it is unexpected. Once someone sees through your backtracking skill and targets it, this characteristic will not be as powerful as you think. Therefore, those experts above the 40th level of chaotic grade will usually only spend 1 or 2 levels on this characteristic. Master Tsongjin said. Those, Sing Hui seemed to have heard something and suddenly said, could it be that there are many sons of chaos above the 40th level in the divine wilderness? Master Tsongjin glanced at Sing Hui. Considering the fact that Sing Hui was a son of chaos at the 40th level, he did not hide it from him. It's not the 40th level. To be specific, it's the 44th level. Among the top 10 chaos organizations, other than the Temple of Saints and the Crimson Wings, the other 8 have a son of chaos at the 44th level. Among them, there may be 2 sons of chaos at this level in the Heavenly Tao, Divine Wilderness, and Eternal. As for why they are both at the 44th level, it's similar to the 29th level of chaotic grade. Sing Hui immediately understood. This was because after the 44th level of chaotic grade, the Chaos Treasure Pavilion would deduct not only 1 Tao aura per day, but 2 Tao auras per day. In a year, it would be 730 Tao auras. And 730 Tao auras, this was definitely an astronomical number. It must be known that even the Hidden Sword Venerable, who sat on the entire Hidden Sword mainland, could only obtain a mere 200 Tao auras per year. This number was not enough to cover the consumption of a Son of Chaos at the 30th level of chaotic grade. The Hidden Sword mainland had always been famous for its rich production of Tao auras. Among the many continents in the Divine Wilderness, it could be ranked in the top 30. The top 30 continents only produced a little over 200 Tao auras per year. From this, one could see how difficult it was to obtain Tao auras. Although the Celestial Vault, Sword Shadow, Grand Supreme, All Saints Palace, Crimson Wings, Heavenly Tao, Divine Wilderness, Eternal, and other chaos organizations were all supreme giants with their influence spread across every corner of the world, it was still not easy to support the consumption of a Son of Chaos at the 45th level of chaotic grade. Above the 30th level, a Son of Chaos with a deduction of 365 Tao auras per year was the limit they could accept. Sing Hui estimated that the Tao auras produced by the countless continents in the Divine Wilderness would be around 15,000. Of these 15,000 Tao auras, 4,000 would be digested by ordinary Sons of Chaos and small chaos organizations. Similar to the large forces and powerful experts of the various continents, the First Hall, the 3 sects, the 6 religions, and the 9 gates would be given another 3,000. The remaining 8,000 would be given to the 10 great chaos organizations. According to the strength of the 10 great chaos organizations, the number of Tao auras they could obtain was also different. The Celestial Vault, which was on the weaker side, would only be able to obtain 600 Tao auras per year. How could this number support the consumption of a Son of Chaos at the 45th level of chaotic grade? What's the level of the first echelon in the Celestial Vault preparing for the War of Chaos? Sing Hui once again asked the question he was most concerned about. I've told you this number before. It's 27th level. However, since the Venerable Zhu Zhao is a Son of Chaos at the 44th level, it can reach 29th level on average. As the Venerable Zhu Zhao spoke, he seemed to have seen through Sing Hui's doubts. He smiled and said, in the War of Chaos, the higher your chaos level is, the better. The higher your chaos level, the more advantage you have. You can even monopolize a variable. However, in the war of chaos, which is similar to the war of chaos between groups, what relies on is the cooperation between each group. Chapter 5:12. Xing Hui thought of the various troubles and changes that he and Broken Sword had encountered in the War of Chaos, and nodded in agreement. In the War of Chaos, it was often difficult to use self-beneficial characteristics, such as recovery characteristics, divine skills, backtracking skills, and so on. However, characteristics that were beneficial to humans could almost determine the final outcome of the War of Chaos, such as the divine protection skill, the advancement skill, the resurrection skill, and so on. In addition, there was the deduction skill. Xing Hui felt that the most important thing in the War of Chaos was the deduction skill. The advantage of having the deduction skill was too great. Well, Xing Hui, according to our investigation, you should be in the Hidden Sword Continent now, right? The Hidden Sword Continent is not far from here, only 9 million kilometers. If you are fast, it won't take much time. I will send someone to pick you up and bring you to the headquarters of Heaven Vault in the Divine Wilderness. Heaven Vault Master said solemnly. Halfway through, he seemed to have thought of something. By the way, if I remember correctly, you should have the Incarnation skill, and have a 10th order personal space. You can use the Incarnation skill to bring your original body to Infinite Wasteland, which saves us the step of making a trip to the Hidden Sword Continent. This. A trace of hesitation flashed across Xing Hui's eyes. Thinking of Hidden Sword Venerable's kindness and related instructions, he could not help but sigh. I'm afraid I can't come back in a short period of time. Can't come back? Why? Your cultivation is still weak, and the outside world is too dangerous for you. It's best to come back as soon as possible. Heaven Vault Master said. Hidden Sword Venerable glanced at Xing Hui. Are you worried that there is a spy in Heaven Vault Master? Don't worry, we will make arrangements for you. Before the war of Heaven Vault Master and Heaven Vault Master is decided, we will not easily expose your identity. Hidden Sword Venerable has something to do on Infinite Wasteland, and I was entrusted by Hidden Sword Venerable to look after the Hidden Sword sect for him. As for the time, it will take at least 2 to 3 months, and at most half a year. During this time, it is really inconvenient for me to abandon the Hidden Sword sect. Hidden Sword sect. I've heard of the Hidden Sword Honorable and the Hidden Sword sect. It's a continent with a high production of Taoist aura. There are many people who have their eyes on this continent. If we, the Heaven Dome sect, send a powerful figure to protect the Hidden Sword sect for you, we'll be breaking the rules. By then, the Way of Heaven, which already has no excuse to deal with us, will definitely send a large number of masters to the Hidden Sword continent without mercy. By then, the entire Hidden Sword continent will become a battlefield, the final battle between the Heaven Dome sect and the Way of Heaven. Isn't Broken Sword a powerful being? Why would he? The Broken Sword is different. Before Xing Hui finished speaking, Hidden Truth esteemed cultivator had already explained, you're not from the Hidden Sword continent, and Broken Sword's target is only you. He did not attack the Hidden Sword sect, so this is not a violation of the rules. Furthermore, the world only knows that Broken Sword is from the Heaven Dome sect. At present, the news of his betrayal has not been made public. If we go to the Hidden Sword sect with Broken Sword sect as the reason, I'm afraid the world will think that the Heaven Dome sect is directing and acting for the Hidden Sword continent. Why is Hidden Sword Venerable not guarding the Hidden Sword continent but going to Infinite Wasteland? Xing Hui, why don't you contact Hidden Sword Venerable? If it's not something important, the Heaven Dome sect is willing to do it for him. I'll contact Hidden Sword Venerable then. Xing Hui nodded. He already felt that there was something wrong with Hidden Sword Venerable's trip to Infinite Wasteland. It would be best if the Heaven Dome sect was willing to intervene. As one of the 10 great chaotic organizations, the Heaven Dome sect's combat strength was not inferior to that of the One Hall, 3 sects, 6 religions, and 9 gates. In particular, they had recently recruited many Golden Core Realm cultivators and strengthened their core strength. As long as they did not go against the forces of the 10 great chaotic organizations, they would not be afraid of the 1 hall, 3 sects, 6 religions, and 9 gates. In fact, the main danger that Xing Hui faces now is the Lihan Holy Man. Since the Lihan Holy Man has lost the Lihan Heaven Realm, if Xing Hui wants to escape, he may not be able to capture him. Therefore, Xing Hui's safety is not guaranteed. At this time, the Heaven Dome sect seemed to have thought of something and suddenly said, "It's better to be safe than sorry. It's better to let him come to our side." Qing Su looked at the 2 aboriginals and understood that they were concerned about his safety. He immediately said, "Don't worry, aboriginals. Actually, the situation isn't as bad as you imagine it to be. In the past, it was indeed possible for me to be trapped to death by the enemy, but now, that might not necessarily be the case. Even if they use a supreme treasure similar to the Grief Heaven world to trap me, I can still use teleportation techniques to escape." Teleportation technique? The teleportation technique is not omnipotent. Take the Lihan Heaven Realm as an example. Once you are trapped by the Lihan Heaven Realm and use the teleportation technique, the only outcome is to be trapped in a space mezzanine. Once you are trapped in a space mezzanine, unless a vacuum-shattering realm expert breaks the space mezzanine and escapes, you will die. Not necessarily. Xing Hui said. I remember that there is an item called the Heavenly Grotto Stone. If a cultivator is strong enough, he can draw out the power within and unleash a blow that can shatter the vacuum. With this item, he can naturally escape from the space mezzanine safely. Even with the power of the Heavenly Grotto Stone, you have to have the battle strength of the Saint Realm. Otherwise, the power of that blow will not be able to shatter the vacuum and allow you to escape from the space mezzanine. Moreover, do you think that the space mezzanine is that easy to survive without the protection of a domain? Hidden Truth Master shook his head. Xing Hui smiled. Domain? He did not. However, the Lihan Heaven Realm could protect him for a while in the space mezzanine. After all, the Lihan Heaven Realm smelted a large number of dust-repelling stones. As for the battle strength of the Saint Realm, he believed that with the power of the divine art, his attack strength would not be inferior to any Saint Realm expert. If one day, his golden core could give birth to a divine art, without the power of the divine art, he could still shatter the vacuum with the help of the Heavenly Grotto Stone. I'll discuss with the Hidden Sword Venerable first before making a final decision. Xing Hui said. Yes, it's best if you can persuade the Hidden Sword Venerable to return. Once he returns, he will take care of the Hidden Sword sect himself. Naturally, you don't have to stay there anymore. When the time comes, you can come directly to our place or find a hidden continent to hide. Anyway, your personal space has already reached the 10th level, and the level of your incarnation technique is not low. It's very convenient for you to go back and forth. I also hope that I can persuade him to return. At this point, Xing Hui considered the impact of his 40th level Son of Chaos and the possible consequences of Tiandao's full attention on him. He said slowly, Venerable Master, I have a supreme divine item with me. This divine item is the key to my ability to raise the level of chaos to the 40th level in a short time. Now, I hope to use this supreme divine item to cooperate with the 2 venerables, or rather, Tianqiong. Supreme divine item? When Tianqiong Master heard Xing Hui mention this item, he did not look too surprised. Instead, after exchanging a glance with Zhangzhen Venerable Master, they both revealed a smile at the same time. Seeing this scene, Xing Hui immediately guessed, it seems that Tianqiong Master has already found out something. Bei Zhao's supreme divine item. That divine item. I have indeed heard of it. It is said that Bei Zhao was killed because of this supreme divine item. We will investigate this matter sooner or later. If we find out who the culprit behind this is, the entire sky vault of heaven will definitely not let this matter rest. Zhangzhen Venerable Master said in a deep voice. Xing Hui did not reply. Bei Xiao was an almighty who had cultivated divine sense, and his status in Tianqiong Master was quite high. Although he was not one of the four founders, he was still a core existence. To be able to kill such an expert without giving him a chance to escape, one could imagine how amazing the cultivation of the expert who killed him was. At least, it was definitely not as simple as an almighty. Xing Hui, what is the secret of this supreme divine item? How are you going to cooperate with Tianqiong Master? The two of you will know the effect of this supreme divine item when you see it. As for the cooperation method, this supreme divine item will belong to Tianqiong Master from now on, but half of the Taoist rhymes it produces will belong to me. After saying that, Xing Hui directly took out the blood-red statue. He took it out for two reasons. One was to cover up the fortune divine jade on him. In Xing Hui's mind, the value of this blood-red statue was far from being comparable to the fortune divine jade. By taking out the blood-red statue, he could stop people from speculating that he was at a high level of chaos. As for the second reason, it was to increase Tianqiong Master's strength. Only when Tianqiong Master's overall strength became stronger would he have a higher chance of winning the battle against the heavenly Tao. When he took out the statue, Xing Hui focused on understanding the emotional changes of the two sages. The Taoist rhymes produced by the blood-red statue could definitely be called a steady stream. If any force could obtain this statue and make good use of it, the benefits would be unimaginable. This was especially true for a major force like the Celestial Dome sect. They only needed to destroy a first-rate sect like the Yuanji sect and rely on this blood-red statue to collect hundreds or even hundreds of Taoist rhymes. Moreover, the so-called hundreds of Taoist rhymes were only Xing Hui's personal guess. He did not know whether the efficiency of the special crystal condensed by the blood-red statue was related to the cultivation of the cultivator. If the higher the cultivation of the cultivator, the easier it would be to condense the blood-red crystal, and its value would rise to an unimaginable level. Faced with the temptation of such a supreme treasure, no one could guarantee that they would not be greedy. Xing Hui's mind was clear. If Tianqiong Master was really greedy and wanted to swallow this supreme divine object, Xing Hui would not say anything. However, from now on, he would have nothing to do with Tianqiong Master. He would not care about the battle between Tianqiong Master and the Heavenly Tao, nor Tianqiong Master's life and death. With this object, he would be able to repay the favor he owed Tianqiong. Fortunately, after Tianqiong Master and Sung Zhen Master sensed the function of the blood-red statue, their breathing became rapid. However, after a while, they still forcibly suppressed the surging thoughts in their hearts. Xing Hui, are you serious? Are you really willing to give this to Tianqiong Master? As long as it produces half of the Taoist rhymes? Of course. Good. The Firmament Master agreed heavily without any hesitation. There's no need to discuss this with anyone else. I agree to this. From today onwards, half of the crystals produced by the statue will belong to you, Qing Su. Thank you very much, Tianqiong Master. We should be the ones thanking you. Tianqiong Master paused for a moment. Xing Hui, since the suspicion on you has been cleared, your authority should naturally be restored. Moreover, you are in level 40 Chaotic Realm, which makes you the second most powerful person in Tianqiong Master. The authority of a counselor is a little too low for you. Now, I will make the decision to directly give you the authority of a core counselor. From now on, the Sky Dome Realm will be your second home. You can come and go as you wish. Chapter 5:13. When Celestial Master Tsang Qiong and the rest officially confirmed that Broken Sword had betrayed Celestial Master Tsang Qiong, Broken Sword had already reappeared in the Chaos Holy Temple. His chaotic class was stripped away and he reverted back to his original state. Fortunately, he always had a Class 18 chaotic class as a backup. This was why he was able to inherit this class of chaos immediately and step into the Chaos Holy Temple again. He reported the news of his exposure to the Lihan Holy Man and allowed the Lihan Holy Man to activate his secret technique to conceal Broken Sword's spiritual undulations. This caused the celestial master Tsung Qiong to be unable to locate him. But even with that being the case, falling from a lofty 28th step son of chaos to a measly 8th step, where all his accumulations over the past 100 years had been reduced to nothing, still left him dispirited. He was obviously filled with hatred towards the main culprit behind all of this, Qing Su. You disappoint me. Inside the Lihan Holy Man's palace, the Lihan Holy Man, who was sitting on the lotus throne, looked at Broken Sword, who was in a sorry state. If not for the fact that Broken Sword was the only one among his children who had cultivated to become a powerful being, he would have been killed by the Lihan Holy Man for committing such a huge mistake. Even though I've made many mistakes, it's not like I'm completely worthless. I've brought important news about Qing Su. He was able to become a Class 40 chaotic class child in a short span of 10 years because he obtained the legendary Supreme Divine item from Bei Shao. Such a chaotic class child must be the secret weapon of the celestial master Tsung Qiong. If we did not obtain this information beforehand, this Class 40 chaotic class child would have become a surprise weapon and dealt a fatal blow to the celestial master Tsung Qiong. Broken Sword hurriedly defended himself. Supreme Divine Item. Class 40, the Lihan Holy Man looked at Broken Sword and asked, how many people know about this? Only me. Broken Sword replied hurriedly. Very good. I've always thought that the Supreme Divine Item in Tianqiong Bei Zhao's hands was just a rumor. But now, I've personally witnessed an ordinary person rise to such a level with the help of this divine item in just 10 years. It's clear that this divine item really does exist. Moreover, its effects are even more shocking than the legends. When Remnant Sword heard this, his face immediately revealed a look of joy. Father, you can use the incarnation technique to immediately go to the hidden sword continent to scout the way. After locking onto the location, use the teleportation technique to directly go there. With you personally taking action, Xing Hui will definitely die. At that time, everything in his hands, including that supreme divine item, including his chaotic rank, will become yours. Incarnation technique? My incarnation technique is only at the 2nd level. Even if I really descend to the hidden sword continent, the weakening effect will still make it difficult for me to do anything for the next month. Rather than that, I might as well go directly, but if I go directly, it will inevitably attract the attention of Sky Dome. The Lihan Holy Man naturally had his own concerns. It was rare to see someone like Xing Hui who could use the incarnation technique as he pleased. Furthermore, his actual body could travel freely with the incarnation technique. After all, the requirement for one's personal space to have to be at the 10th level. This was a total of 10 chaotic ranks. Even though the Lihan Holy Man's chaotic rank had broken through the shackles of the 30th level and had once reached the 36th level, the frightening consumption of a little bit of Tao aura every day had already exceeded his limit. Previously, he could still barely support the 36th level of chaotic rank. But recently, the Chaotic Treasure Pavilion had spawned a treasure that was very beneficial to his cultivation. In order to buy that treasure, he borrowed many Tao-carrying items and could no longer sustain the huge consumption of the Chaotic Treasure Pavilion. Currently, his chaotic rank had already fallen to the 32nd level. Looking at the situation, he did not intend to raise his chaotic rank to the 30th level in the near future. Under such circumstances where every chaotic rank was extremely important, he naturally did not have enough chaotic ranks to raise his personal space to the 10th level. It's best not to let a third person know about this. Otherwise, there's a risk that the Supreme Divine Artifact and the Level 40 Chaos technique will be exposed. The Broken Sword fanned the flames with a regretful tone. The Lihan Holy Man closed his eyes and considered carefully. Finally, he made a decision. There are only 3 people in the entire Heavenly Vault continent who can stop me. They are the Zhu Zhao, the Heavenly Vault continent and that mysterious sword wielder. Among the 3 of them, only the Zhu Zhao dares to say that he can definitely defeat me. If I move towards the hidden sword mainland, as long as I'm fast enough, even if they find out afterwards, that's not right. The Broken Sword hurriedly said, Father, if the Heavenly Vault continent finds out that you are heading towards the hidden sword mainland, they will definitely warn Xing Hui. When that happens, if he escapes from the hidden sword mainland and hides, it won't be easy for us to find him again. Therefore, we cannot alert him. The best way is to use the incarnation technique to establish a coordinate in the hidden sword mainland and use the teleportation spell to travel there. Then, when he is unprepared, we can give him a fatal blow. Escape? The Lihan holy man laughed coldly. The Anusrava holy man's divination technique can not only be used in the War of Chaos, it can also be used to predict the whereabouts of others. Especially when he has my Lihan heaven realm. That is my natal treasure. With that treasure, I can ask the Anusrava holy man to predict his location anytime. Where can he escape to? Tell the Anusrava holy man about this? But, what if the Anusrava holy man figures out some clues? The Anusrava holy man is not omniscient and omnipotent. Furthermore, I used the Lihan heaven realm as an excuse to ask him to predict the whereabouts of Tsinghui. In a short period of time, he shouldn't be able to predict so far. Even if he figures out the truth, so what? By then, we would have already captured Tsinghui and interrogated him about the supreme divine item and the chaotic spell. Father is wise. Well, you have to prepare yourself. Zhu Zhao, that old bastard, has spent a lot of energy on you. Now that he has learned of your betrayal, he must be furious and wants to find you and get rid of you. I will discuss with the other Dao masters and see if we can use your trap to lure Zhu Zhao out and get rid of him. Zhu Zhao is the biggest threat in the whole firmament. If we can get rid of him, we don't have to take the risk of destroying the firmament with the War of Chaos. After all, there are too many variables in the War of Chaos, especially now that there is a Son of Chaos at level 40 in the firmament, whose comprehensive level of chaos is not much inferior to our way of heaven. Compared with the uncertainty of the War of Chaos, I will choose to solve the firmament in the real world even if I have to pay a certain price, lure Zhu Zhao out. When Remnant Sword heard this, there was a trace of hesitation in his heart. However, considering that he had now lost his biggest reliance, the chaos level, he urgently needed to prove his value to attract the attention of the heavenly axiom. Therefore, this hesitation lasted for a moment and was thrown to the back of his mind. Okay. I will think of a way to lure Zhu Zhao out. If we can really kill Zhu Zhao, our chances of winning the War of Heavenly Dao and the Heavenly Dome will increase from 70% to 90%. Not 90%, 100%. The Lihan holy man's eyes were filled with pride. If the Heavenly Dome doesn't have Zhu Zhao, the 8 Dao Masters will no longer be a threat to our lives. When the time comes, many powerful cultivators will swarm up and destroy the Heavenly Dome completely. Hearing the Lihan holy man's words, Broken Sword's heart trembled. If the Zhu Zhao exalted man died, the 8 Dao Masters would no longer be a threat. However, the safety of the Daoist masters and perfected cultivators might not be guaranteed. After all, the Heavenly Dome Master, the invincible divine state giant, and the mysterious sword wielder were still in the Heavenly Dome. If they wanted to kill the Daoist masters and perfected cultivators, it would not be difficult. However, in the eyes of the 8 Dao Masters, the life and death of these people were not worth mentioning at all. They only needed to ensure their own safety and that was enough. Dao Master. Just as the Lihan holy man was about to discuss the details of luring the Zhu Zhao exalted man out, a voice came from outside. Not long later, a man dressed in black appeared in the Lihan holy man's palace. Broken Sword knew this person. He was called Master Voracious Wolf. Like him, he was a powerful cultivator and was the most capable subordinate of the Lihan holy man. Although there was a certain gap between the powerful cultivators, the lawful embodiment of heaven and earth and the grand dominion state, this gap was not so big that it could be crushed. The strength of celestial phenomenon of earth and 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 celestial phenomenon. As for the divine state, their power was also established in the grand dominion state. Relying on the grand dominion state, the divine state had a crushing advantage over the powerful cultivators. Which one of the powerful cultivators did not have divine spells? They might not be able to defeat them, but if it was just escaping, there was still hope. Therefore, even if it was an invincible cultivator in the divine state, it was extremely difficult for him to make a powerful cultivator submit to him willingly and become his subordinate. At most, there was a difference in status. When they met, they would greet each other as a sign of respect. To make the other party grovel or even kneel, it was impossible. Because of this, it was extremely rare for a powerful cultivator to completely submit to another powerful cultivator. This was also the reason why Broken Sword dared to return after losing the Lihen Holy Man's Lihen Heavenly Realm. He knew that with his status, he would not be punished. Due to this reason, subordinates like Master Greedy Wolf who were completely loyal to the Lihen Holy Man were extremely rare. With such a capable assistant, even some of the weaker saints would be envious if they saw him. Holy Man, we just received news from our spy in the heavens. There are new changes in the first echelon of the Battle of Chaos in the heavens. Pak Hui, who was originally removed from the first echelon, has returned to the first echelon and her ranking is very high. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.